Blood doesn't lie. And tonight, in the frozen heart of Chicago, Lena Vale learned that truth with a bullet through her ribs. She wasn't supposed to die on that corner, wasn't supposed to see the tattoo, wasn't supposed to survive long enough to become the one thing a criminal empire fears most. A witness with a face the wrong people now remember. This is a story about a delivery girl who stood in the wrong place, a kingpin who couldn't let her go, and the war that erupted when mercy became more dangerous than murder. Stay until the end. Hit like. Drop your city in the comments. Let's see how far this story travels. The cold hit first, then the pain. Lena Vale didn't hear the gunshot that tore through her side, just felt the impact, like someone had shoved a railroad spike between her ribs and twisted. Her knees buckled. The delivery bag slipped from her fingers, spilling someone's $60 steak dinner across frozen concrete that suddenly felt warm against her cheek. Blood pooled beneath her, dark and spreading, steam rising where it met winter air. Screaming erupted around her, footsteps scattered in every direction. Someone shouted about calling 911, but the voice sounded distant, like it was coming from underwater. Lena tried to breathe and couldn't, tried to move and couldn't. Her vision blurred at the edges, the neon glow of downtown Chicago bleeding into abstract smears of red and blue and gold. She thought about Eli, about the overdue electric bill sitting on their kitchen counter, about how stupid it was to die delivering food to people who wouldn't even remember her name. Then a shadow fell across her. Lena blinked through the haze and saw him, a man in a black coat, perfectly tailored, standing over her like he had all the time in the world while chaos erupted around them. Dark eyes, sharp features, calm. Too calm. He crouched beside her, pressed something against the wound in her side, and the pressure sent white-hot agony screaming through every nerve. She gasped, choked on her own breath. "Don't move," he said. His voice was low, controlled, carrying the kind of authority that didn't expect to be questioned. "You're going into shock." Lena tried to speak, but her throat closed up. He scanned the street, not looking for help, but for something else. Danger. Threats. His hand stayed firm against her side, keeping pressure on the wound, but his attention was everywhere except on her face. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. "Can you stand?" he asked. "No," Lena managed. "I can't." He didn't wait for her to finish. In one smooth motion, he slid an arm beneath her shoulders and lifted her like she weighed nothing. Pain exploded through her ribs. She bit down on a scream and tasted copper. "Where?" "Don't talk." He carried her toward the restaurant entrance, the same upscale place she'd been delivering to, and kicked the door open. Inside, warmth and chaos. Waitstaff scattered. Someone yelled something about calling the police. The man ignored all of it, moving through the dining room like he owned the building, then shouldering through a set of swinging doors into the kitchen. Steel counters. Fluorescent lights. The smell of garlic and seared meat. A chef in a white coat froze mid-chop, cleaver raised, staring at them. "Out," the man said. The chef didn't argue, neither did anyone else. Within seconds, the kitchen emptied, leaving only Lena bleeding out on a stainless steel prep table and the stranger who'd carried her there. He grabbed a towel, pressed it against her side, and finally looked at her face. "What's your name?" "Lena," she whispered. "Lena Vale." "I'm Damien." He didn't offer a last name, didn't need to. The way he moved, the way everyone had scattered without question, he was someone important, someone dangerous. "Why did—" Lena coughed, tasted blood again. "Why did they shoot me?" Damien's jaw tightened. "They didn't." "What?" "The bullet wasn't meant for you." He pulled the towel back, examined the wound, then pressed down again. "You were standing in front of the target." The words didn't make sense. Nothing made sense. Lena's vision swam. She tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. "Stay still," Damien ordered. "You're losing too much blood." "Then call an ambulance." "No." "What?" Panic cut through the fog. "I'm bleeding out, and If I call an ambulance, you're dead within the hour." His eyes locked onto hers, dark and unreadable. "The people who fired that shot saw your face. They know you're a witness. The moment you show up at a hospital with a gunshot wound, they'll finish what they started." Lena's heart hammered against her ribs. "That's insane. You're insane. I don't—" I don't know anything. I was just delivering food. Doesn't matter. Damien straightened, pulled out his phone, and typed something one-handed while keeping pressure on her wound with the other. You saw the shooter. That makes you a problem. I didn't see anyone. I didn't. The memory hit her then, sharp, sudden. A flash of something she hadn't consciously registered in the moment, but her brain had captured anyway. A man across the street, black jacket, raising something that caught the streetlight wrong, and on his wrist, just visible beneath the sleeve. Tattoo, Lena whispered. Damien went still. What? The shooter. He had a tattoo. On his wrist. She closed her eyes, trying to pull the image into focus through the pain and adrenaline. A black chess piece, a castle, or a tower. A rook. Her eyes snapped open. Damien's expression had changed. Not fear exactly, but something close to it, something cold and sharp and deadly. You're sure? He asked. Yes, I saw it when he... Lena's breath caught. What does it mean? Damien didn't answer. Instead, he pulled his phone out again and made a call. 2 rings, then a woman's voice crackled through the speaker. Tell me you're alive, the woman said. I am. The girl isn't. Damien glanced at Lena. Not yet, anyway. How bad? Gunshot. Right side. Through and through, I think. She's conscious, but losing blood fast. Hospital? No, she saw the mark. Silence on the other end. Then, Bishop. Yeah. Christ, Damien. The woman's voice dropped an octave. If Bishop's back, we've got bigger problems than one witness. I know. Where are you? Rousseau's kitchen, but we can't stay here. Police are already outside. I'll handle it. Get her to the penthouse. I'll have a medic waiting. Damien ended the call and looked down at Lena. Can you walk? I don't even know if I can breathe, she shot back. Good enough. He helped her sit up, and the room spun violently. Lena grabbed the edge of the table, fighting down nausea. We need to move. Now. Who's Bishop? The question came out before she could stop it. Damien's expression went flat. Someone who should be dead. He didn't elaborate. Instead, he wrapped an arm around her waist, carefully avoiding the wound, and guided her off the table. Her legs nearly gave out, but he held her steady, half carrying her toward a back exit. Wait! Lena tried to pull away. My brother, Eli. He's home alone. If these people know my face... Address. She told him. Damien made another call, rattling off instructions too fast for her to follow, then pocketed his phone. Someone's already on the way to get him, he said. He'll be safe. Safe where? With me. They pushed through the exit into an alley that reeked of garbage and grease. A black SUV sat idling near the mouth of the alley, engine running, windows tinted dark. Damien opened the back door and helped Lena inside, then climbed in after her. The driver didn't ask questions, didn't even look back, just put the vehicle in gear and pulled smoothly into traffic. Lena slumped against the leather seat, pressing the blood-soaked towel against her side. Her vision kept sliding in and out of focus. She could feel herself slipping, the edges of consciousness fraying like old cloth. Stay awake, Damien ordered. He was doing something with his phone again, typing rapidly. Vivian's sending a medic, but you need to stay conscious until we get there. Vivian? The woman on the phone. Is she... Lena's teeth started chattering. Is she your wife or something? Damien actually smiled at that. It was a cold smile, sharp at the edges, but genuine. No, she's my strategist, and the only person in this city more dangerous than I am. Great, Lena muttered. That's really comforting. It should be. If anyone can keep you alive tonight, it's her. The SUV accelerated, weaving through downtown traffic with practiced ease. Lena watched the city blur past the window. Familiar streets suddenly feeling alien and hostile. Every pedestrian could be a threat. Every shadow could hide another shooter. Why are you helping me? She asked. Damien didn't look up from his phone. Because you're a loose end, and I don't like loose ends. So you're keeping me alive to tie me up later? Something like that. You're a real humanitarian. Never claimed to be. The conversation died there. Lena closed her eyes, focusing on breathing. In, out. Each inhale sent pain lancing through her ribs, but at least it meant she was still alive. Her phone buzzed in her jacket pocket. She pulled it out with shaking hands, expecting a message from Eli, and froze. Unknown number. The text was short. 8 words that turned her blood to ice. The girl has a brother, doesn't she? Lena's hands started shaking harder. She showed the screen to Damien without a word. His jaw clenched. He immediately dialed another number, putting the phone to his ear. Marcus, status on the brother. Pause. How far out are you? Another pause, longer this time. Damien's expression darkened. Get there faster. He ended the call and looked at Lena. When did that come in? Just now? Anyone else know about Eli? Everyone. I mean, he's disabled, uses a wheelchair. I talk about him all the time. It's not a secret. It is now. Damien leaned forward, speaking to the driver. Faster. The SUV picked up speed, running a red light and cutting across 3 lanes of traffic. Horns blared. Lena gripped the door handle, her knuckles white. They're not going to hurt him, Damien said. It didn't sound like a promise. It sounded like a threat, aimed at whoever had sent that text. I won't let them. You don't even know me, Lena whispered. Why would you? Because this is my fault. The admission came out flat, matter of fact. You got shot because of me, which means you and your brother are my responsibility now. I didn't ask for that. Neither did I. Damien's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, and some of the tension left his shoulders. Marcus is at your apartment. Eli's safe. Lena exhaled shakily. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. The SUV pulled into an underground parking garage, descending several levels before finally stopping near a private elevator. Damien helped Lena out of the vehicle, keeping one arm around her waist as they moved toward the elevator. She caught a glimpse of security cameras, armed guards, and reinforced steel doors before the elevator swallowed them. They rose in silence. Lena counted floors, past street level, past the first 10 stories, past 20, 30, 40. The elevator finally stopped on the 52nd floor and opened directly into a penthouse that looked like something out of a magazine spread. Floor-to-ceiling windows, minimalist furniture, art that probably cost more than Lena made in 5 years. And standing in the middle of it all, a woman in a charcoal suit, blonde hair pulled back tight, expression cold enough to freeze blood. Vivian Cross. You're late, Vivian said, not looking at Lena. Her attention was fixed on Damien. And you brought a problem. She saw Bishop's mark, Damien replied. Vivian's eyes finally shifted to Lena. The scrutiny felt like being dissected. That makes her more than a problem. That makes her a liability. She's also bleeding out, Damien shot back. Where's the medic? En route. ETA, 3 minutes. Vivian crossed her arms. We need to discuss containment. After she's stable. Damien. After. The two of them stared at each other, some silent battle of wills playing out that Lena couldn't begin to understand. Finally, Vivian looked away first. Fine. Get her to the guest room. I'll handle the medic. Damien guided Lena down a hallway lined with more expensive art, through a door into a bedroom that could have swallowed her entire apartment. He eased her onto the bed, then stepped back. Try not to bleed on the sheets, he said. Lena would have laughed if it didn't hurt so much. I'll do my best. A man in his 30s appeared in the doorway, dark skin, medical bag in hand, calm expression. He moved to Lena's side without introduction and started cutting away her jacket and shirt. Gunshot wound, right side, possible through and through, Damien said. Conscious and responsive. Blood loss significant but not critical yet. The medic nodded, already working. I've got it from here. Damien hesitated, then left the room. Lena watched him go, then looked up at the medic. Am I going to die? She asked. Not if I can help it. He pulled out a syringe, tapped it twice. This is going to hurt. It did. A lot. But the pain was sharp and clean and somehow better than the spreading numbness that had been creeping through her limbs. Lena gritted her teeth and rode it out while the medic worked. Cleaning, stitching, bandaging. He moved with practiced efficiency, asking occasional questions about her medical history that she answered through clenched teeth. Finally, he stepped back. You're lucky. The bullet went clean through. Missed anything vital. You'll need rest and antibiotics, but you should make a full recovery. Great, Lena muttered. Can I leave now? The medic packed up his supplies without answering. A non-answer that told her everything she needed to know. She was alive. But she wasn't free. Not anymore. Teat. Hours passed. Maybe. Lena drifted in and out of a drugged haze, aware of voices in other rooms but unable to make out words. At some point, someone brought her water and pills. She took them without asking what they were. When she finally woke up, really woke up, the room was dark except for the city lights bleeding through floor-to-ceiling windows. Chicago sprawled beneath her like a living thing, all neon and motion and endless noise. Lena sat up slowly, testing her body. The pain was still there, sharp and insistent, but manageable. The medic had done good work. She swung her legs off the bed and immediately regretted it. Dizziness washed over her. She gripped the edge of the mattress, waiting for the room to stop spinning. "You should be resting." Lena's head snapped up. Damien stood in the doorway, arms crossed, watching her with those unreadable dark eyes. "I need to see my brother," she said. "He's down the hall, asleep. I need to see him." Damien studied her for a long moment, then stepped aside. "Fine. But if you pass out, I'm not carrying you again." Lena pushed herself to her feet, swaying slightly. Damien moved closer, not touching her, but close enough to catch her if she fell. She hated how much she appreciated the gesture. They moved down the hallway slowly. Lena kept one hand on the wall for balance, each step sending fresh waves of pain through her side. Finally, Damien stopped at a closed door and pushed it open. Eli was asleep in a bed twice the size of the one he had at home, his wheelchair parked beside the nightstand. He looked so young in the dim light, 22 years old but still her baby brother, still the kid she'd raised after their parents died. Lena moved to his bedside and brushed hair back from his forehead. He stirred slightly but didn't wake. "He's safe here," Damien said quietly from the doorway. "I have security on every floor. No one gets in or out without clearance." "For how long?" Lena turned to face him. "How long do we stay locked in your fortress?" "Until Bishop is dealt with." "And how long will that take?" Damien's expression went cold. "As long as it takes." "That's not an answer." "It's the only one I have." Lena wanted to scream, wanted to demand real answers, real timelines, real control over her own life. But exhaustion dragged at her bones, and her side throbbed with every heartbeat, and Eli was sleeping peacefully for the first time in weeks. So instead, she just nodded. "I need to know what's happening," she said. "All of it. Who Bishop is. Why he tried to kill you. What you did to make someone want you dead badly enough to hire a professional assassin." "You don't want those answers." "I deserve them." Damien was quiet for a long moment. Then he stepped back, gesturing toward the hallway. "Come with me." They left Eli sleeping and moved through the penthouse to a room that looked like a cross between an office and a war room. Screens covered one wall, displaying security feeds, news channels, and data streams Lena couldn't begin to interpret. Vivian sat at a desk in the corner, typing rapidly on 3 different keyboards. She didn't look up when they entered. "Show her," Damien said. Vivian's fingers paused. "You sure about this?" "No, but she's not going to drop it." Vivian pulled up a file on the center screen. A photograph appeared. A crime scene. Bodies covered in white sheets, blood splattered across restaurant walls. 7 years ago, Damien began, his voice flat and clinical. There was a fire at a restaurant on the south side. 5 people died. The official report called it an electrical malfunction. It wasn't, Lena guessed. No, it was an execution. Damien nodded toward the screen. A contract killer known only as Bishop walked into that restaurant, locked the exits, and set it on fire. By the time firefighters arrived, everyone inside was dead. Lena's stomach turned. Why? Because the men who owned that restaurant controlled drug trafficking on the south side. They were expanding territory, stepping on toes, making enemies. Someone wanted them gone. Who hired him? I don't know. Bishop never talked, never left evidence. He was a ghost, the kind of professional you hire when you need someone erased and you have the money to pay for perfection. Vivian pulled up another file. This one showed a younger Damien in a suit, sitting across from federal agents in what looked like an interrogation room. Damien testified against the people who hired Bishop, Vivian said. He gave the FBI enough evidence to dismantle half of Chicago's old criminal infrastructure, wiped out entire organizations overnight, and made a lot of enemies in the process, Lena finished. More than you can imagine, Damien replied. But Bishop disappeared after that fire. No one saw him. No one heard from him. We assumed he was dead. Until tonight. Until tonight. Lena sank into a chair processing. Her mind raced through implications and connections, trying to make sense of the impossible situation she'd stumbled into. Why come after you now? She asked. Why wait 7 years? That's what we're trying to figure out. Vivian pulled up another screen. Encrypted messages, financial transactions, surveillance footage. Bishop doesn't work for free. Someone powerful hired him. Someone with resources and patience and a very specific grudge against Damien. Any suspects? Damien and Vivian exchanged a look. Several, Damien admitted. I've spent 7 years building an empire on the ashes of the old one. That means stepping on necks, breaking alliances, taking territory that other people thought belonged to them. So basically, you've pissed off everyone. More or less, Lena laughed, a short, bitter sound. And I got shot because I happened to be standing in front of you when one of your enemies decided to settle the score. Yes, at least he was honest about it. What happens now? Lena asked. Now we find out who hired Bishop, Vivian said, typing again. And we eliminate the threat before they make another move. And what about me and Eli? You stay here, Damien replied, under protection, until it's safe. And if it's never safe? Damien met her eyes. Then you stay here. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Lena pushed herself to her feet, ignoring the protest from her wounded side. I'm not a prisoner. You're not a guest either, Vivian said without looking up. You're a complication, and complications get people killed. Vivian, Damien started. She needs to understand what she walked into. Vivian finally turned to face them. This isn't some crime drama where everything wraps up neatly in an hour. Bishop is a professional. He's patient, methodical. He'll wait weeks, months if necessary, for the perfect opportunity to finish what he started. So what? Lena shot back. I'm supposed to just hide forever? You're supposed to stay alive. Vivian's expression didn't change. Which means following our rules. No contact with anyone from your old life. No social media. No stupid mistakes that give Bishop another shot at you. This is insane. This is reality. Lena looked at Damien, searching for something, sympathy, understanding, anything human. But his expression had gone distant again, walls up, the man who'd carried her bleeding body through chaos replaced by someone colder and harder. I need air, Lena muttered, turning toward the door. The balcony is through there, Damien said, pointing. Don't go beyond the security perimeter. She didn't answer, just walked out onto a balcony that overlooked all of Chicago. 52 stories of glass and steel and distance between her and everything that used to be her life. The cold air bit at her skin, but she welcomed it, needed it. Something real and sharp to cut through the fog of painkillers and adrenaline and sheer disbelief. Her phone was gone, probably destroyed or confiscated for security. Her apartment was compromised. Her brother was sleeping down the hall in a stranger's penthouse, surrounded by armed guards and surveillance equipment, and people who talked about murder like it was business. And Lena was stuck in the middle of it all because she'd been standing in the wrong place at the wrong time. She heard footsteps behind her. Damien joined her at the railing, keeping a careful distance. I know this isn't fair, he said quietly. Fair? Lena turned to look at him. I got shot. My brother's in danger. And I'm trapped in a gilded cage with a man I don't know and a psychopath hunting us both. Fair doesn't even begin to cover it. I'm sorry. Are you? The question came out sharper than she intended. Or are you just sorry you have to deal with a complication? Damien's jaw tightened. Both. At least he was still being honest. They stood in silence, the city sprawling beneath them. Lena could see the restaurant where she'd been shot. Just a pinprick of light in the distance, already moving on with its night like nothing had happened. I grew up 3 blocks from here, Damien said suddenly. In a basement apartment that flooded every time it rained. My mother worked 3 jobs and still couldn't keep the lights on half the time. Lena glanced at him, surprised. He wasn't looking at her, just staring out at the skyline like he was talking to the city itself. I was 12 when I realized the only way out was up, he continued. So I climbed. Did things I'm not proud of. Hurt people who probably didn't deserve it. Built something powerful enough that no one could ever make me feel small again. And now someone's trying to tear it all down. Yeah, Damien finally looked at her. But they're not going to succeed because I don't lose, Lena. Not anymore. Everyone loses eventually. Not me. The certainty in his voice should have sounded arrogant. Instead, it just sounded tired. Lena turned back to the city, her side throbbing with each breath. I need to call my boss. Tell them I can't work anymore. Already handled, Damien said. Vivian sent a resignation email from your account, 2 weeks' notice. Very professional. You. Lena bit back the surge of anger. You can't just make decisions for me. I can when those decisions keep you alive. That's not her phone. No, a phone, she realized, seeing the unfamiliar device in Damien's hand, buzzed. He glanced at the screen, and his entire posture changed. We need to go inside, he said. Now. What's wrong? Vivian found something. They moved back through the penthouse to the war room. Vivian was on her feet now, 3 screens glowing behind her, expression grim. We have a problem, she announced. Damien crossed his arms. Another one? Vivian pulled up surveillance footage, grainy, black and white, time-stamped from earlier that night. The image showed a man in dark clothing crossing a street, face partially obscured by shadows. This is from a traffic camera 2 blocks from the shooting, Vivian explained. Watch his left wrist. She zoomed in. Even through the grain and blur, Lena could see it, the black chest rook tattoo. Bishop, Damien said. Gets better. Vivian pulled up another angle. This is from 40 minutes ago, 3 blocks from here. The blood drained from Lena's face. He knows where we are. Worse. Vivian tapped a key. A new window appeared. A text message thread, sender unknown. The most recent message made Lena's heart stop. 52nd floor, northwest corner. The girl's brother sleeps well, doesn't he? Damien's phone was in his hand instantly, dialing. Marcus, get to Eli's room. Now. He listened for a beat, then his expression went ice cold. Do it, and lock down the building. No one in or out until I say otherwise. He ended the call and looked at Vivian. How did he get eyes on us? I don't know, but he's watching, real time. That's impossible. We've got counter surveillance on every... I know what we have. Vivian's voice was sharp. And I'm telling you, he's watching anyway. Lena's mind raced. The penthouse. Does anyone else have access? Service staff, maintenance? Damien and Vivian looked at each other. The building management has master codes, Vivian said slowly. But they're encrypted, firewalled. No way someone could... Unless they had inside help, Damien finished. The room went silent. We need to move, Vivian said. Get the girl and her brother somewhere secure while we sweep the building. Where? Damien demanded. If Bishop has someone on the inside, nowhere in Chicago is safe. Then we go outside Chicago. That takes time we don't have. Another phone buzzed, this time Vivian's. She glanced at it and swore. Security feed just went dark on the 48th floor. That's 3 floors down, Lena whispered. Damien was already moving. Vivian, get Eli. Lena, stay behind me. What's happening? Lena's voice cracked despite her best effort. Bishop is here. The words hit like a physical blow. Lena's legs went numb. Her vision tunneled. This couldn't be happening. It couldn't. Damien grabbed her shoulders, forcing her to focus. Listen to me. We trained for this. We have contingencies, but I need you to stay calm and do exactly what I say. Understand? Lena nodded, not trusting her voice. Good. Let's move. They ran, or rather, Damien ran, and Lena stumbled after him, one hand pressed against her wounded side. Every step sent pain lancing through her ribs, but adrenaline kept her upright. They reached Eli's room. Marcus, the man who'd picked up Eli earlier, Lena realized, stood guard outside the door, gun drawn. Status? Damien asked. Kid's still asleep. No movement in the hallway. Get him up. We're relocating. Marcus slipped into the room. Seconds later, Eli emerged in his wheelchair, groggy and confused. His eyes widened when he saw Lena. What's going on? He asked. Lena, you're bleeding. Later. Lena grabbed his hand. Just stay close, okay? Eli nodded, fear replacing confusion. Vivian appeared from another hallway, tablet in hand. Service elevator is compromised. Someone overrode the controls remotely. Main elevator? Also compromised. Damien swore. Stairs? Only option, but it's 52 floors down. Then we start now. They moved as a group toward the stairwell. Damien in front, Marcus pushing Eli's wheelchair, Lena between them, Vivian bringing up the rear with her gun drawn. The penthouse had never felt larger, every hallway stretching into infinity. They reached the stairwell door. Damien pushed it open slowly, weapon raised. The stairwell was empty, fluorescent lights humming overhead. How are we getting Eli down? Lena asked, looking at the wheelchair. I'll carry him, Marcus said. I can walk, Eli protested. Sort of. If someone... The lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in a second later, bathing everything in red. And in that crimson glow, Lena saw something that made her blood freeze. A shadow, moving up the stairs toward them. Go, Damien ordered. Now. They didn't need to be told twice. Marcus lifted Eli from the wheelchair, surprisingly gentle for someone built like a linebacker, and started down the stairs. Vivian followed. Lena hesitated, looking back at Damien. Go, he said again. This time it wasn't an order, it was a plea. Lena went. They descended fast, taking stairs 2 at a time. Lena's side screamed in protest, but she pushed through it. Above them, she heard something. Footsteps? Gunfire? She couldn't tell over the sound of her own ragged breathing. 49th floor, 48th, 47th. Marcus stumbled, nearly dropping Eli. Vivian caught them both, steadying the group. Keep moving, she hissed. They kept moving. 45th floor. 44th. Another sound from above, closer now. Definitely footsteps. Fast, getting faster. He's gaining on us, Vivian said. I know. Damien's voice came from somewhere behind them. When had he started following? Lena risked a glance back and saw him descending backwards, gun trained up the stairwell. 42nd floor. A shot rang out, deafening in the enclosed space. Lena screamed. Damien returned fire, 3 quick shots that echoed like thunder. Don't stop, he shouted. 40th floor, 39th. Lena's legs were giving out. The pain in her side had gone from sharp to nauseating, each breath a struggle. She grabbed the railing to keep from falling. I can't. Marcus was there suddenly, still carrying Eli but somehow supporting Lena too. Yes, you can. 10 more floors. I can't. You will. Another gunshot. Closer. 35th floor. The stairwell door ahead of them burst open. 3 men in tactical gear poured through, weapons raised. Vivian didn't hesitate. She fired twice, dropping the first man. The second one got a shot off that sparked off the railing near Lena's head. The third man rushed forward, and Damien was there, moving faster than Lena thought possible. He slammed the man into the wall, disarmed him in 2 brutal movements, and used the stolen weapon to take down the second guard. Keep going, Damien yelled. They kept going. 30th floor, 25th. Lena's vision was going dark at the edges. Her legs were numb. She couldn't feel the wound in her side anymore, which seemed like a bad sign. Stay with me, Marcus said. 5 more floors. 4, 3, 2. The ground floor door appeared ahead. Vivian kicked it open and they spilled out into an underground parking garage. The SUV from earlier sat idling near the elevator, engine running. In, Damien ordered, appearing behind them. Blood streaked his face from a cut above his eye, but he was moving, alive, still fighting. They piled into the vehicle. Marcus got Eli secured while Vivian climbed into the driver's seat. Damien slid in beside Lena, and the SUV was moving before he'd even closed the door. They peeled out of the garage, tires screaming, and merged into late-night traffic doing twice the speed limit. For a long moment, no one spoke. They just breathed, hard and fast and grateful. Then Eli broke the silence. Someone want to tell me what the hell just happened? Lena started laughing. She couldn't help it. The whole situation was so insane, so far beyond anything she could have imagined 12 hours ago, that laughter was the only response that made sense. Welcome to the family business, she said, still laughing, tears streaming down her face. We're being hunted by a professional assassin and hiding from a criminal empire. Eli stared at her. Are you high right now? Probably. The medic gave me something earlier. That explains a lot. Damien's phone rang. He answered it, listened for a moment, then ended the call and looked at Vivian. We've got a location, he said, Bishop just made contact. He wants to meet. It's a trap, Vivian replied. Of course it's a trap. So we're not going. Damien was quiet for a long moment. Then, we're going. Damien, he has leverage now. He knows about Lena and Eli. If we don't meet him on his terms, he'll dictate when and where the next attack happens. I'm not giving him that power. So instead we walk into an ambush? We walk in prepared. Vivian swore in 3 different languages but didn't argue further. Lena felt cold despite the SUV's heater running full blast. Where does he want to meet? Abandoned warehouse district near the river, Damien said. Tomorrow night. What happens if you don't show up? Damien looked at her, his dark eyes reflecting the passing streetlights. Then he comes for you and Eli, and this time he won't miss. The safe house smelled like mildew and decades of neglect. Lena sat on a metal folding chair in what used to be a warehouse office, watching rust flake off the window frame while her brother slept in the corner on a cot that looked older than both of them combined. The building was somewhere south of the city. She'd lost track after the third turn through industrial wastelands and abandoned rail yards. Vivian had chosen it specifically because it didn't exist on any official maps anymore. Dawn light crept through broken blinds, painting everything in shades of gray. Damien stood near the door, phone pressed to his ear, speaking in clipped sentences too quiet for Lena to make out. He'd been on that phone for 2 hours straight, ever since they'd arrived. Coordinating, planning, preparing for a meeting that felt less like strategy and more like suicide. Marcus leaned against the far wall, cleaning his gun with mechanical precision. Vivian hunched over a laptop at a makeshift desk, fingers flying across the keyboard, eyes bloodshot from lack of sleep. No one had spoken to Lena directly since they'd locked the door. She was cargo. A problem to be managed while the adults handled real business. The wound in her side throbbed with each breath, a constant reminder that 12 hours ago she'd been a completely different person with completely different problems. Bills, shifts, Eli's physical therapy appointments, normal things that felt impossibly distant now. Damien ended his call and looked at Vivian. Status? Bishop's location ping came from a burner tower near the port, Vivian replied without looking up. Triangulation puts him somewhere in a 3-block radius, could be anywhere. Surveillance? Working on it, but he's smart, knows where our cameras are. Then get new cameras. Already ordered, ETA 4 hours. Damien rubbed his face, exhaustion showing through the cracks in his armor. The cut above his eye had stopped bleeding but left a dark line across his temple. His shirt was torn at the shoulder. He looked human for the first time since Lena had met him, vulnerable. What about the penthouse breach? He asked. Vivian's fingers paused. Inside job. Had to be. Someone gave Bishop access codes and security rotations. Who? I have 3 suspects. Building maintenance supervisor, night security coordinator, and your housekeeper. Damien's jaw tightened. Maria's been with me for 5 years. Which makes her either loyal or perfectly positioned, Vivian shot back. I'm not ruling anyone out until we have proof. Find proof. Fast. I'm trying, but Bishop doesn't leave trails. Everyone leaves trails. Lena cleared her throat. Both of them looked at her like they'd forgotten she existed. Can I ask a question? She said. Damien crossed his arms. Go ahead. Why are you really meeting him? Lena stood up slowly, testing her balance. The painkillers had worn off an hour ago, leaving raw agony in their wake. Because it sure as hell isn't strategy. You're walking into a trap, and everyone in this room knows it. It's the only way to draw him out, Damien replied. Bullshit. The word came out sharper than Lena intended, but she didn't take it back. You want revenge. For the restaurant. For the penthouse. For making you look weak in front of your enemies. Vivian actually smiled at that. A thin, dangerous expression. The girl's smarter than she looks. Vivian, Damien warned. What? She's right. Vivian turned to face them fully. This isn't about tactics. This is about pride. Bishop embarrassed you, made you run. And you can't let that stand because the moment the other organizations see weakness, they'll come for you too. It's exactly what's happening. Vivian closed her laptop with a snap. You're letting emotion cloud judgment. Again. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Damien moved toward Vivian with predatory slowness. Watch yourself. Or what? Vivian stood her ground. You'll fire me? Kill me? We both know you need me more than I need you right now. Don't test me. Someone has to. Vivian's voice went cold. Because you're about to get yourself killed over a girl you met yesterday and an assassin who should have been dealt with 7 years ago when you had the chance. I couldn't deal with him then? You could have. Vivian stepped closer, jabbing a finger into Damien's chest. You chose mercy. Chose to let the federal system handle it, and now he's back. And people are dying because you were too weak to finish what you started. Damien's hand moved toward his waistband. Marcus straightened immediately, ready to intervene. But Damien stopped himself, forced his hand to drop. Get out, he said quietly. Vivian didn't move. Damien, I said get out. Take Marcus. Do a perimeter check. Give me 10 minutes. Vivian stared at him for a long moment, then grabbed her laptop and walked out without another word. Marcus followed, closing the door behind them with a soft click. Silence filled the space they left behind. Lena stayed frozen, afraid that any movement might shatter whatever fragile control Damien was clinging to. She'd seen men lose their tempers before. Her father, before the accident that killed him. Drunk supervisors at the delivery service. Random assholes on the street. But this was different. This was a man who killed people deciding whether to add one more body to the count. You should go check on your brother, Damien said finally, still not looking at her. He's asleep. Then wake him up. I'm not leaving. Damien's head snapped toward her. This isn't a request. I don't care. Lena crossed her arms despite the pain it caused. You dragged me into this. You and your war and your enemies. So I'm staying until I understand what the hell I'm actually dealing with. You want to understand? Damien moved closer, and Lena forced herself not to step back. Fine. 7 years ago, I testified against the people who ran this city. Not because I was noble, not because I wanted justice, but because they tried to kill me, and I don't forgive that kind of thing. The restaurant fire, among other things. Damien's expression went distant. I was small then. Nobody. Just another street kid trying to build something from nothing. But I saw patterns other people missed, recognized opportunities, started moving product through routes no one else controlled. Drugs? Information? Logistics? Sometimes drugs? Sometimes guns? Whatever paid. He rubbed the back of his neck. The old families didn't like competition, so they hired Bishop to erase me and everyone associated with me. Lena felt something cold settle in her stomach. The people who died in that fire, they were your people. They were my family. The admission came out raw. Not blood, but the only family I had. Bishop locked them inside and watched them burn. And you survived. I wasn't there. I was across town making a deal that saved my life and cost everyone else theirs. Damien finally met her eyes. So when the FBI came asking questions, I gave them everything. Names, locations, bank accounts. Enough to dismantle the entire network that hired Bishop. Revenge. Justice, Damien corrected. Or at least that's what I told myself. But Vivian's right. I should have hunted Bishop down personally, made sure he couldn't come back. Instead, I trusted the system to handle it. And the system failed. The system always fails. Damien turned away, looking out through the grimy window at the industrial wasteland beyond. Bishop disappeared, went underground. We assumed he was dead or smart enough to stay gone, built my empire on that assumption. And now he's back. Yeah. Lena processed this, fitting pieces together. Someone hired him again. Someone with enough money and patience to wait 7 years for the perfect moment. That's the theory. Who? We're working on it. Damien's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, frowned, then pocketed it again. But the list of people who want me dead is longer than you'd think. Comforting. Wasn't meant to be. They stood in silence for a moment. Outside, voices drifted through the walls. Vivian and Marcus arguing about something technical. A car engine rumbled past on a distant street. Why'd you save me? Lena asked suddenly. In the street. You could have walked away. Let me bleed out. Would have been cleaner. Damien was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. I don't know, he admitted finally. Instinct, maybe? Or stupidity? Or... He trailed off. Or what? You reminded me of someone. He looked at her then, really looked, and Lena saw something in his eyes that made her chest tighten. Someone I couldn't save. Before Lena could ask what that meant, the door burst open. Marcus stood in the doorway, gun drawn, expression grim. "We've got movement," he said. "3 vehicles, coming fast." Damien was moving before Marcus finished speaking. "How far? Half a mile? Maybe less? Positions?" "Vivian's setting up a perimeter, but, boss," Marcus hesitated. "They're not trying to hide. This isn't a stealth approach." Damien swore. "They want us to know they're coming." "Which means it's a distraction," Lena said. Both men looked at her. "If they're coming in loud from one direction, the real threat is coming quiet from another." Damien's expression shifted, surprise, then something like respect. "She's right. Marcus, get Eli. We're moving." "To where?" "Anywhere but here." Marcus disappeared down the hallway. Damien grabbed a duffel bag from under the desk and started loading weapons into it with practiced efficiency. "You know how to use a gun?" he asked Lena. "No." "Good. Don't start now. Just stay close and do what I say." "That's your whole plan? Stay close?" "You have a better one?" Lena didn't. Marcus returned with Eli, who looked more alert now, scared but focused. "What's happening?" Eli asked. "Field trip," Lena replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "Fun times." "You're a terrible liar." "Yeah, well, I'm working on it." Vivian appeared in the doorway, tablet in hand. "Vehicles just stopped, 2 blocks out. They're flanking." "How many people?" Damien asked. "Can't tell. Windows are tinted, but I'm reading heat signatures, at least a dozen. Maybe more." "Armed?" "Assume yes." Damien zipped the duffel bag closed and slung it over his shoulder. "Back exit?" "Covered." They anticipated it. Of course they did. Damien pulled out his phone, dialed a number. "This is Voss. I need an extraction. Yes, now. Port District, Warehouse Row, Building 734. How long? Make it faster." He ended the call. "We have 8 minutes." "That's not enough time," Vivian said. "It'll have to be." They moved as a group toward the back of the building, Damien leading, Marcus pushing Eli's wheelchair. Lena between them, Vivian bringing up the rear with her gun drawn. The warehouse stretched around them like a steel labyrinth, shadows pooling in corners where the dawn light couldn't reach. Lena's side screamed with every step. She pressed one hand against the wound, feeling wetness seep through the bandage. The stitches had torn. She was bleeding again. "Keep moving," Damien said without looking back. "I am." "Faster." They reached a loading dock that overlooked an alley filled with rusted shipping containers and abandoned machinery. The air smelled like oil and decay. In the distance, Lena could hear engines idling, voices shouting commands. Damien peered around the edge of the dock, then pulled back quickly. 4 men, covering the alley, automatic weapons. "Can we go around?" Marcus asked. "Not without being seen." Vivian checked her tablet. "Extraction team is 6 minutes out. We need to hold position." 6 minutes might as well be 6 hours, Damien muttered. He looked at Marcus. "Think you can make the shot?" Marcus moved to the edge, assessed the angles, then shook his head. "Not from here. Wrong elevation. I'd need to get closer." "How close?" "Close enough that they'd see me coming." "So we need a distraction." Everyone looked at Lena. "Oh, hell no," she said immediately. "I'm not playing bait." "You don't have to," Damien replied. "Just need to look helpless, which, no offense, you already do." "That's supposed to make me feel better?" "It's supposed to keep you alive." Before Lena could argue, gunfire erupted from somewhere inside the building. Not close, but close enough. The sound echoed through the warehouse like thunder trapped in a tin can. "They're inside," Vivian said. Damien swore. "Change of plans. We go loud." He pulled a flashbang from the duffel bag, counted to 3, then threw it into the alley. The explosion was deafening, a white-hot burst of light and sound that turned the world into static. The men in the alley stumbled, blind and disoriented. Marcus moved. 2 shots. 2 bodies down. Damien was already running, using the chaos as cover. Lena tried to follow and her legs gave out. She hit the concrete hard, pain exploding through her wounded side. Eli screamed her name. Marcus was there, instantly, hauling her upright. "I got you. Move!" They ran, or tried to. Lena's vision swam. Her side was on fire. She could feel blood running down her hip, soaking through her jeans. More gunfire. Closer now. Damien returned fire, covering their retreat. They made it to the cover of a shipping container just as bullets sparked off metal inches from Lena's head. How bad? Marcus asked, looking at her side. Bad, Lena gasped. Really bad. Marcus ripped open a medical kit, pulling out gauze and tape. This is gonna hurt. Everything hurts. He pressed the gauze against her wound and she nearly blacked out from the pain. Through blurred vision, she saw Eli watching, his face pale, hands gripping the wheelchair armrest so hard his knuckles went white. I'm okay, Lena lied. It's fine. You're bleeding through the bandage, Eli said. That's not fine. It's fine-ish. Vivian appeared around the corner, breathing hard. Extraction's here, north side, but we need to move now. She can't move, Marcus said, still working on Lena's wound. She needs a hospital. Hospital means questions, Damien replied. Questions mean police. Police mean federal attention we can't afford right now. So what? Marcus's voice rose. We let her bleed out? We get her to the extraction point and deal with it from there. That's not... A bullet punched through the shipping container 3 feet from Marcus's head. Everyone dropped flat. Discussion's over, Damien said. Marcus, carry her. Vivian, cover left. I've got right. Move. They moved. Marcus lifted Lena like she weighed nothing, cradling her against his chest while Vivian pushed Eli's wheelchair at a dead run. Bullets chased them across the loading dock, sparking off metal and concrete. Damien returned fire methodically, each shot precise, buying them seconds they desperately needed. The extraction vehicle, an armored van that looked like it belonged to a SWAT team, sat idling at the north entrance. The driver leaned out, waving them forward. Go, 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 Damien shouted. They piled inside. Marcus set Lena down on a bench seat. Eli's wheelchair was collapsed and shoved in after him. Vivian climbed into the passenger seat. Damien was the last one in, slamming the door shut just as gunfire hammered against the armor plating. Drive, he ordered. The van lurched forward, tires screaming. Lena caught a glimpse through the windshield, men in tactical gear, muzzle flashes, the warehouse receding behind them. Then they were on the street, weaving through early morning traffic like a tank in a demolition derby. No one spoke for the first 5 minutes. They just breathed, checking themselves for injuries, trying to process what had just happened. Finally, Eli broke the silence. This is insane, he said. His voice shook. Completely insane. 24 hours ago, I was worried about missing my physical therapy appointment, and now I'm in an armored van being chased by people with machine guns. Welcome to my life, Damien muttered. Your life sucks. Yeah, it really does. Lena tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. The pain in her side had gone from sharp to nauseating. She looked down and saw blood, too much blood, soaking through the fresh bandage Marcus had applied. I think I'm dying, she said. It came out conversational, almost curious. Damien moved to her side, peeling back the bandage. His expression went carefully blank. You're not dying, but you need a doctor. You said no hospitals. I said no public hospitals. We've got alternatives. Alternatives? People who don't ask questions. That sounds shady. Everything about this is shady. Damien pulled out his phone. Vivian, how far to the clinic? 20 minutes, Vivian replied from the front seat, assuming we don't hit traffic. Make it 15. The driver nodded and the van accelerated. Lena leaned back against the seat, feeling her consciousness starting to fray at the edges. Eli grabbed her hand, squeezing tight. Stay awake, he said, please. Trying. Try harder. Lena wanted to laugh but didn't have the energy. Instead, she focused on breathing. In, out. Each breath a small victory against the darkness creeping in from the edges. Talk to me, she told Eli. About anything. Just keep talking. Okay, Eli scrambled for words. Remember when we were kids and Dad took us to Navy Pier that one summer? Before the accident. Yeah, before. Eli's voice steadied slightly. You got sick on the Ferris wheel, threw up in Mom's purse. She was so mad. She wasn't mad. She was laughing. Said it was the most exciting thing that Perce had ever been through. Lena smiled despite the pain. I forgot that. I didn't. Eli squeezed her hand tighter. I remember all of it. Every good day we had before everything went wrong. And I'm not letting you die here because I need more good days. With you. Understand? I understand. Good. So stay awake. Okay. The van hit a pothole, and Lena's vision went white from the pain. When it cleared, Damien was talking on his phone again, speaking rapid fire to someone about blood types and surgical equipment. Am I that bad? Lena asked. Damien looked at her. For once, his expression was completely open. Fear, guilt, and something else Lena couldn't quite name. You're going to be fine, he said. You're lying. Yeah, I am. At least he was honest about it. The clinic turned out to be a converted brownstone in a neighborhood that looked halfway between gentrification and total collapse. The van pulled into an underground garage and they were met by a woman in scrubs who took one look at Lena and started barking orders. Marcus carried Lena inside. Everything after that became fragments, harsh fluorescent lights, the smell of antiseptic, voices discussing medical terminology she didn't understand. Someone cut away her shirt, hands pressed against her wound. Pain so intense it transcended pain and became something else entirely. Then a needle in her arm. Darkness. When Lena woke up, she was in a bed that wasn't hers, in a room she didn't recognize, with IV lines running into both arms. Eli sat in a chair beside her, asleep with his head tilted back against the wall at an angle that would give him a terrible neck ache. Lena tried to sit up. Her side protested, but the pain was manageable now, muted by whatever drugs were flowing through the IV. Don't move. She turned her head. Damien sat in the corner, partially hidden in shadow. He looked worse than she'd ever seen him, exhausted, unshaven, wearing the same blood-stained clothes from the warehouse. How long was I out? Lena asked. Her voice came out raspy. 8 hours, give or take. What happened? Stitches tore during the escape. You lost a lot of blood. The doctor had to resuture the wound and give you a transfusion. Damien leaned forward slightly into the light. But you're going to be fine, according to everyone who isn't me lying to you. So it's bad. It's not good, but you're tough. You'll pull through. Lena looked at Eli, still sleeping. He hasn't left, has he? Not once. Wouldn't even eat until the doctor confirmed you were stable. Something in Lena's chest tightened. He's a good kid. He loves you. That's worth more than good. They sat in silence for a moment. Somewhere beyond the walls, Lena could hear muffled voices. Vivian and Marcus, she assumed, still coordinating security or planning their next move. Who were those people? Lena asked. At the warehouse. We're still figuring that out, Damien admitted. They weren't Bishop's usual style. Too loud, too aggressive. He works in silence. So, someone else? Someone working with them. Or someone taking advantage of the chaos. Damien rubbed his face. The attack opened up questions, made me look vulnerable. Every organization in the city is probably discussing whether now's the time to make a move. Because of me. Because of the situation. Damien met her eyes. Don't make this about guilt. You didn't ask for any of this. Neither did you. I absolutely did. The admission came out tired. Every choice I made led to this moment. The people I hurt. The deals I broke. The territories I took. This is exactly what I built. And now it's collapsing around me. You're not collapsing. Not yet. Damien stood, moving to the window. Beyond the glass, Lena could see night had fallen again. Another day gone. Another day deeper into whatever nightmare she'd stumbled into. But I'm close, and when I do, everyone around me falls too. That's depressing. That's realistic. Lena studied him, the set of his shoulders, the way his hands clenched and unclenched at his sides. He was afraid. Actually, genuinely afraid. Not for himself, but for everyone else. The meeting with Bishop, she said. Are you still going? Tomorrow night, as planned. It's a trap. I know. You're going anyway. I have to. Damien turned to face her. Because if I don't, he'll keep coming, keep escalating. And eventually he'll get to you or Eli or someone else I can't protect. So you're sacrificing yourself. I'm ending this. There's a difference. Not to the person who ends up dead. Damien almost smiled. Fair point. The door opened. Vivian entered, tablet in hand, expression grim. We have a problem. Another one? Damien asked. Bishop made contact again, sent a video. Vivian held up the tablet. On the screen, grainy surveillance footage showed the warehouse attack from earlier, but the angle was wrong, not from any camera Vivian would have placed. He was watching, Lena said. Worse. Vivian tapped the screen. The video zoomed in on a specific moment. Marcus carrying Lena across the loading dock, her blood clearly visible even through the low-quality footage. He knows you're injured, knows you're compromised. So he'll push harder, Damien concluded. He sent coordinates, wants to move the meeting up, tonight, midnight. That's 3 hours from now. I know. Damien was quiet for a long moment, processing. He's rushing because he knows we're not ready, trying to catch us off balance. Probably. Any intel on the new location? Old grain terminal, south side. Multiple exits, lots of cover, impossible to secure completely. Perfect ambush site. Exactly. Damien looked at Lena, then at Eli, still sleeping in the chair, then back at Vivian. Set it up. But I want snipers on every approach. Federal surveillance if you can get it, and a backup extraction plan. Federal surveillance means involving law enforcement, Vivian warned. I'm aware. The moment we do that, we lose control of the narrative. They'll have questions, want arrests. It could compromise everything we've built. Then we make sure they only see what we want them to see. Damien's expression hardened into something cold and calculating. Bishop wants a meeting? Fine. We'll give him one. But on our terms. Vivian studied him for a moment, then nodded. I'll make the calls. She left. The room fell quiet again. You're not actually going, Lena said. It wasn't a question. I am. That's suicide. Maybe. Damien moved back to the window. But it's also the only move that makes sense. Bishop is patient, professional. He'll wait months for the perfect shot if necessary. I can't live like that. Can't protect you and Eli indefinitely. Eventually, my resources run out, or I make a mistake, or he gets lucky. So you force his hand. I give him a target he can't resist and surround it with enough firepower to end this permanently. What if it doesn't work? Then I die, and you and Eli disappear. Vivian has protocols in place, new identities, safe locations. You'll be protected. I don't want protection, Lena said. I want my life back. That's not possible anymore. The words hit harder than Lena expected. She'd known it somewhere deep down, ever since the bullet tore through her side. But hearing it confirmed, hearing that the life she'd built, however small and struggling, was gone forever, made it real in a way nothing else had. This isn't fair, she whispered. No, Damien agreed. It's really not. Eli stirred in his chair, blinking awake. He saw Lena conscious and immediately sat up straighter. You're awake. Unfortunately. How do you feel? Like I got shot twice and chased by people with machine guns. So, accurate. Lena managed a weak smile. Yeah, pretty much. Eli looked between her and Damien, reading the tension in the room. What's happening? Damien's going to meet the assassin, Lena said. Tonight, at midnight. That's insane. We've established that. Can't talk him out of it? Tried, didn't work. Eli turned to Damien. You know this is stupid, right? Like, objectively, measurably stupid? Yeah, Damien replied. I'm aware. And you're doing it anyway. Yeah. Why? Damien was quiet for a moment, then, because I'm tired. Tired of running. Tired of looking over my shoulder. Tired of building walls and watching them crumble anyway. So I'm going to walk into that grain terminal, look Bishop in the eye, and finish what should have been finished 7 years ago. Or die trying. Or die trying. Eli shook his head. You're all insane. Every single person in this building is completely insane. Welcome to the family, Lena said. I didn't ask to join this family. Neither did I, but here we are. They sat together in the quiet. Lena in the hospital bed, Eli in his chair, Damien standing sentinel by the window. 3 people who had nothing in common except bad luck and worse timing, bound together by violence and circumstance. Lena's phone, the new one Vivian had given her, buzzed on the side table. She picked it up and froze. Unknown number. Again. But this time the message wasn't a threat. It was a photograph. Lena's old apartment building. Taken recently, maybe within the hour. The lights were on in her unit. Someone was inside. Damien, she said quietly. He turned. She showed him the phone. His expression went ice cold. Vivian, he shouted. She appeared in the doorway seconds later. Damien showed her the image. They're in her apartment, Vivian said, already typing on her tablet. Checking surveillance now. Christ. Multiple heat signatures. They're ransacking the place. Looking for what? Lena asked. Leverage, Damien replied. Anything they can use against you or Eli. Photos, documents, personal items. There's nothing there. There's always something. Vivian's tablet chimed. She looked at the screen and swore. They're downloading data from her laptop, remotely accessing her email and social media. Can you stop it? Already trying, but whoever's running their tech is good, really good. Lena felt something cold settle in her stomach. My laptop has everything on it. Eli's medical records, my work schedule, bank statements. They know, Vivian said grimly. They know where you worked, where you banked, who you talked to. They're building a profile. For what? No one answered. They didn't need to. The implications were obvious. Find someone Lena cared about, someone she'd contact despite the danger, and use them as bait. We need to warn people, Lena said. My old boss, my landlord, the physical therapist who works with Eli. Already on it, Vivian replied, phone now pressed to her ear. She rattled off names and addresses, instructing someone on the other end to make protective contact. Damien's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then looked at Vivian. Federal surveillance just went live. We have eyes on the grain terminal. And? Bishop's already there. Has been for the past hour. Setting up. Alone? Can't tell. Too many shadows, but the heat signature suggests at least 3 people. So he brought backup. Or someone brought him backup. Vivian ended her call and looked at Damien. Protective contacts are moving, but this is getting messy. Too many variables, too many people in play. I know. We should abort, regroup, hit Bishop when we have better intel. No. Damien's voice was flat, final. We do this tonight, because if we don't, tomorrow we'll have even more variables, more people at risk, more chaos. You're letting emotion dictate strategy. I'm letting reality dictate necessity. Damien met her eyes. Bishop isn't going away. Neither is whoever hired him. So we end this. Now, while we still have some control over the battlefield. Vivian stared at him for a long moment, then sighed. Fine, but I'm recording everything. If this goes wrong, I want evidence of exactly how it went wrong. Fair enough. Damien checked his watch. 2 hours. I need to prep. He started toward the door, then stopped and looked back at Lena. If something happens to me, don't, Lena interrupted. Don't do the whole if I die speech. It's bad luck. This isn't a movie. I know, but I still don't want to hear it. Damien almost smiled. Then he left, Vivian following behind him, already coordinating logistics on her phone. Eli wheeled closer to Lena's bed. This is really happening, isn't it? Yeah. And there's nothing we can do to stop it. Doesn't seem like it. So we just wait? We just wait. Eli reached out and took her hand. I'm scared. Me too. What if he doesn't come back? Lena didn't have an answer for that, so she just held her brother's hand and stared at the ceiling, counting the minutes until midnight, when everything would either end or explode into something worse. 11:45. Lena sat in a surveillance van 3 blocks from the grain terminal, watching Damien's body cam feed on a monitor while Vivian coordinated from the passenger seat and Marcus drove in slow circles around the perimeter. On screen, Damien moved through the terminal alone, gun holstered but accessible, every movement deliberate, scanning for threats. The building was a maze of rusted machinery and collapsed catwalks, shadows pooling in corners where even the federal night vision cameras couldn't penetrate. Heart rate's elevated, Vivian said, reading biometrics from another screen. But stable. He's in control. For now, Marcus muttered. Eli sat beside Lena, watching the feed with wide eyes. She'd tried to make him stay at the clinic, but he'd refused. Said if something happened to Damien, if their only protection disappeared, he wanted to know immediately. On screen, Damien reached the center of the terminal, a vast open space surrounded by elevated platforms and rusted grain silos. He stopped, standing directly under a shaft of moonlight that streamed through holes in the roof. Perfect target. "Damien, you're exposed," Vivian said into her headset. "Find cover." "That's the point," Damien's voice crackled back. "I want him to see me." "You want him to shoot you?" "I want him to try." Silence on the feed. 30 seconds. 60. 2 minutes. Then movement, a shadow detaching from the darkness above, descending a catwalk with inhuman silence. Bishop. Lena leaned forward, heart hammering. She could see him now on the auxiliary cameras, tall, lean, moving like violence made flesh. And on his left wrist, even through the grainy footage, the black rook tattoo. "Target acquired," a federal sniper's voice came through the comms. "I have the shot." "Stand by," Vivian ordered. "Let them talk." Bishop stopped on the catwalk 20 feet above Damien, perfectly positioned. "You came." "You invited me," Damien replied. His voice was calm, conversational. Seemed rude to refuse. Polite to the end. "I always liked that about you." "We've never met." "No, but I know you, studied you. The boy who climbed out of nothing and built an empire on other people's ashes." Bishop tilted his head slightly. "You should have stayed small." "That's not really my style." "Clearly." Bishop's hand moved toward something at his waist. "Sniper 1, take the shot," Vivian ordered. The gunshot cracked through the night. Bishop moved, impossibly fast, already diving for cover before the bullet reached where he'd been standing. The round sparked off metal, missing by inches. "Damn it!" the sniper hissed. "Target mobile. I lost him." On screen, Damien was running, taking cover behind a support column as gunfire erupted from multiple positions. Not just Bishop, the backup Vivian had predicted. 3 shooters, Marcus said, reading the heat signatures. "No, 4. They're flanking." Vivian was already on the radio. "All units, engage. Damien, get to the east exit. We have extraction waiting." "No." Damien's voice came back hard. "I'm not running again." "Damien." "I said no." More gunfire. Damien returned fire, each shot measured, professional. On the auxiliary feeds, Lena saw federal agents moving into position, surrounding the terminal. Then everything went to hell. An explosion rocked the building, not huge but enough to shake the surveillance feeds and send debris raining down from the ceiling. Lena watched in horror as the structure began to collapse, support beams buckling, catwalk swaying. "Damien!" Vivian shouted. "The building's coming down! Get out now!" Static. Then, "Working on it." On screen, Damien was fighting through falling debris, trying to reach an exit while bullets chased him across the floor. He made it halfway before a section of catwalk crashed down directly in his path, blocking the way. Trapped. Bishop emerged from the shadows behind him, gun raised. "Sniper 2, do you have the shot?" Vivian demanded. "Negative. Too much debris. Can't get a clean angle." Lena's hands clenched into fists. She wanted to scream, to do something, anything, except watch helplessly while Damien spun, faster than Bishop expected, and fired 3 times. Bishop went down. But so did Damien, clutching his shoulder where Bishop's shot had caught him before he fell. "Man down," Vivian said into the radio. "All units, target is down. Move in for extraction." Federal agents swarmed the building. On screen, Lena watched them secure Bishop, still alive, bleeding but breathing, and move to Damien, who was sitting up now, holding his shoulder, face twisted in pain. "He's alive," Marcus said. Relief flooded his voice. "Boss is alive." The surveillance van stopped. Marcus jumped out, heading for the terminal at a run. Vivian stayed in the passenger seat, coordinating the aftermath, securing the scene, managing federal questions, already building the cover story. Lena sat frozen, unable to process what she'd just witnessed. Eli grabbed her hand. "It's over." "No," Lena whispered, still watching the screens. "It's not." Because on one of the auxiliary feeds, she saw something that made her blood run cold. Bishop, handcuffed and bleeding, looking directly at the camera, and smiling. Bishop's smile didn't fade even as federal agents dragged him toward an armored transport vehicle, blood trailing from the gunshot wound in his leg. He looked directly at the camera mounted on the terminal's exterior wall, and his lips moved. forming words Lena couldn't hear but somehow understood anyway. This isn't over. The surveillance van felt suddenly too small, the air too thick. Lena stared at the screens while Vivian coordinated extraction protocols and federal debriefing schedules, her voice clipped and professional, even though her hands shook slightly on the keyboard. "We need to get Damien out before the feds start asking questions he can't answer," Vivian said into her headset. "Marcus, status?" "I'm with him now," Marcus's voice crackled back. "Shoulder wound, through and through. He's mobile but losing blood. Get him to the van. We leave in 90 seconds. Copy." Eli squeezed Lena's hand. "It's over, right? They caught the assassin. We can go home." Lena wanted to agree, wanted to believe that Bishop's capture meant the end of the nightmare. But that smile haunted her, too confident, too certain, like a man who'd already won even while bleeding out in federal custody. "I don't know," she admitted. The van's back doors burst open. Marcus appeared, supporting Damien, who looked worse than Lena had ever seen him, face pale, shirt soaked with blood, moving like every step cost him something vital. Marcus helped him into the van, and Damien collapsed onto the bench seat across from Lena, breathing hard. "Drive," he told Vivian. The van lurched into motion before the doors even closed properly. Vivian navigated through back streets while simultaneously typing commands on her tablet, erasing their digital footprint in real time. Lena grabbed the medical kit mounted to the wall and moved to Damien's side. "Let me see. I'm fine." "You're bleeding through your shirt. That's not fine." Damien didn't argue further, just let her cut away the fabric to reveal the wound, an ugly hole in his shoulder where Bishop's bullet had punched through muscle and tissue. The exit wound looked worse, ragged and seeping. "This needs stitches," Lena said, hands already shaking as she pulled out gauze and antiseptic. "Real stitches." From the doctor. "Later." Damien's eyes locked onto Vivian. "Tell me we got something from Bishop before they hauled him away." "Nothing verbal," Vivian replied. "But his phone, we cloned it during processing, running decryption now." "How long?" "Could be minutes, could be hours. His security is military grade." Damien swore quietly. Lena pressed gauze against his shoulder and he didn't even flinch, too focused on the tactical situation to register physical pain. "What about the other shooters?" he asked. "Two dead. One escaped during the building collapse. Federal teams are sweeping the area, but—" Vivian's tablet chimed. She glanced at it and her expression went cold. "We have a problem." "What kind of problem?" "The kind where Bishop's phone just sent an automated message to 17 different numbers. Encryption suggests they're all burner phones. Untraceable." "What did the message say?" Vivian turned the tablet around. On screen, a single line of text. "Package delivered. Phase 2 initiated." The van went silent except for the engine and the sound of Damien's ragged breathing. "Phase 2, Lena repeated slowly. "Bishop getting captured was part of the plan." "Not captured," Damien said, his voice hollow. "Delivered. He wanted to get arrested, wanted us to bring federal attention." "Why?" Eli asked. No one answered. They were all too busy processing the implications, that everything they'd just witnessed, every tactical decision, every extraction plan, had been anticipated, orchestrated. Vivian pulled over suddenly, tires screeching. She turned in her seat to face Damien. "We've been played. The entire confrontation was theater designed to get Bishop into federal custody, where he has legal protection and media attention." "Protection from what?" Lena asked. "From us." Damien's jaw clenched. "In federal custody, I can't touch him, can't interrogate him properly, can't make him disappear. He's protected by lawyers and due process and every bureaucratic safeguard in the justice system." "So he talks," Marcus said quietly. "Cuts a deal, gives up information in exchange for immunity." "Information about what?" Damien met Lena's eyes. "About me. My operations. Everyone I've ever worked with or protected or eliminated. He'll tear down everything I built and walk away clean while I burn." "That's—" Lena struggled for words. "That's insane. Why go through all this? Why not just go to the feds directly?" "Because Bishop's a professional," Vivian explained. "He had no leverage walking in cold. But now, he's a wounded victim of a criminal empire. Sympathetic, valuable. The feds will give him anything he wants in exchange for testimony that could dismantle organized crime in Chicago." "And whoever hired him gets exactly what they wanted," Damien finished. Me destroyed. My empire collapsed. And enough chaos in the power vacuum that they can move in and take over. The pieces were falling into place. A plan so elegant and vicious that Lena felt sick just understanding it. Bishop wasn't the weapon. He was the delivery system. The real attack hadn't even started yet. Vivian's phone rang. She glanced at the screen and her face went white. It's the federal prosecutor's office. Don't answer it, Damien said. If I don't answer, they'll escalate. Start asking why Damien Voss was at the scene of a shooting involving a known contract killer. Let them ask. We've dealt with federal scrutiny before. Not like this, Vivian answered the call, putting it on speaker. This is Cross. Ms. Cross, this is Assistant U.S. Attorney Jennifer Walsh. The voice on the other end was crisp, professional, carrying the kind of authority that didn't expect resistance. I need to speak with Damien Voss immediately regarding tonight's incident at the grain terminal. Mr. Voss is unavailable at the moment. Wow. Then make him available. We have video evidence placing him at an active crime scene. We have ballistic reports showing he discharged a firearm. And we have a suspect in custody claiming Mr. Voss orchestrated an attempted murder. Damien leaned forward despite the pain in his shoulder. This is Voss. Mr. Voss, I'm going to need you to come in for questioning. When? Now. Tonight. We have agents en route to your known addresses. If you don't present yourself voluntarily within the hour, I'll issue a warrant for your arrest. On what charges? For now, material witness, but depending on what Bishop tells us, that could escalate to conspiracy, attempted murder, and about 15 other felonies. Walsh's tone didn't change, still professional, still cold. You have 1 hour. After that, you're a fugitive. The call ended. Damien sat back, processing. Lena watched emotions flicker across his face. Anger, frustration, calculation, before he finally settled on something that looked like resignation. They're not giving me a choice, he said. You can't go in, Vivian protested. The moment you walk into federal custody, they'll hold you indefinitely while they build their case. No bail, no contact. They'll isolate you and pick apart every detail of your life until they find something that sticks. And if I run, then we disappear. All of us. I have protocols in place. New identities, offshore accounts. We can be ghosts by sunrise. For how long? Damien looked around the van, at Marcus, at Vivian, at Lena and Eli. How long before they find us? Before someone makes a mistake? Before we spend the rest of our lives looking over our shoulders? As long as it takes. That's not a life. That's just a slower version of the same trap. Lena watched this exchange feeling like she'd stumbled into a conversation happening in a language she only partially understood. These people spoke in contingencies and extraction protocols like other people discussed grocery lists. What if you go in clean? She asked suddenly. Everyone looked at her. What if you walk in with a lawyer, answer their questions, and dare them to find evidence that doesn't exist? It's not about evidence, Damien said. It's about narrative. Bishop will tell them a story, true or not, doesn't matter. And they'll use that story to justify tearing apart my life until they find something prosecutable. So give them a better story. What story? Lena's mind raced, assembling pieces. Bishop targeted you because of your testimony 7 years ago. You were protecting yourself tonight against a known assassin. Everything you did was self-defense. That doesn't explain the arsenal we brought to the terminal, Marcus pointed out, or the federal surveillance we requested, or the fact that Damien runs half the underground economy in Chicago. They can't prove that last part, Vivian said slowly, understanding where Lena was going. Damien's legitimate businesses are clean. His illegal operations are compartmentalized through enough shell companies and cutouts that direct connection is nearly impossible. Nearly isn't the same as impossible, Damien said. No, but it means they need time, months, maybe years of investigation. And if you cooperate now, give them Bishop, feed them information about his network, you become valuable, an asset instead of a target. You want me to become an informant. I want you to survive. Vivian's voice was hard. Pride doesn't mean shit if you're dead or in prison. Damien was quiet for a long moment, staring at nothing. Finally, he pulled out his phone and dialed a number. Daniel? I need representation. Federal prosecutor wants me for questioning regarding the grain terminal incident. How fast can you get downtown? Pause. Good. Meet me there in 30 minutes. And Daniel, come prepared for war. He ended the call and looked at Vivian. Take us to the federal building, but keep the extraction protocols active. If this goes wrong, I want everyone ready to disappear. Damien, Lena started. You and Eli stay with Marcus, Damien interrupted. Vivian will coordinate from outside. If I'm not out in 24 hours, you follow her orders. No arguments, no heroics. Just disappear and don't look back. It's not negotiable. Damien's eyes were hard. You got dragged into this because of me. I won't let you go down with me too. The van pulled up outside the federal building 15 minutes later, a brutal concrete monument to bureaucratic power that looked even more imposing at 1 a.m. Lights burned in upper windows where prosecutors and agents were probably already building their case. Damien climbed out slowly, moving like every muscle hurt. A man in an expensive suit was waiting on the steps. Daniel, the lawyer, briefcase in hand, an expression already set to combative. Don't say anything without me present, Daniel said immediately. Not even small talk, especially not small talk. I know the drill. They walked toward the entrance together. Vivian stayed in the van, already setting up surveillance equipment to monitor Damien's interrogation remotely. Marcus drove around the corner to a parking structure where they could wait without attracting attention. Lena watched Damien disappear through the federal building's doors and felt something cold settle in her chest. This was wrong. All of it felt wrong. Bishop's smile, the automated message, the federal response being so perfectly timed. Something's not right, she said aloud. Marcus glanced at her in the rearview mirror. What do you mean? The timing. Everything happening exactly when it needed to happen. Bishop getting arrested. The feds calling immediately. Damien walking into their custody. Lena's mind raced through the sequence of events. It's too clean, too choreographed. You think the feds are in on it? Eli asked. I think someone very smart made sure all the pieces would fall exactly this way. Vivian's voice crackled through the comms. Damien just entered interrogation room 3. I have audio but no video. They're sweeping for surveillance. Can you hear anything? Marcus asked. Stand by. A pause, then the sound of voices filtered through, muffled but audible. Federal prosecutors introducing themselves. Damien's lawyer making formal objections to the process. The standard dance of legal positioning. Then a new voice, confident, familiar. Mr. Voss, we finally meet properly. Lena's blood ran cold. She knew that voice, knew it from somewhere recent, somewhere important. Who is that? She asked. Vivian was already running voice analysis software. The program chimed with a match and displayed a photograph on her tablet. Detective Nathan Grayer, Chicago PD. That's impossible, Marcus said. Grayer's not federal. He has no jurisdiction here. Unless the feds requested his cooperation, Vivian replied. He investigated the restaurant fire 7 years ago. Would have case knowledge they'd want. But Lena was staring at the photograph, her mind making connections that didn't want to fit together. Grayer, the restaurant fire, Bishop. Pull up everything you have on Grayer, she said. Right now. Vivian's fingers flew across the keyboard. Files appeared on screen, personnel records, case histories, financial statements. Standard detective background that showed nothing obviously suspicious. What are we looking for? Vivian asked. I don't know. Something wrong. Something that... Lena stopped. Wait, go back. His financial records. Vivian pulled them up. Bank statements showing a modest salary, standard expenses, nothing remarkable. Except... There, Lena pointed at a series of deposits. 3 payments. Each exactly $10,000. Spread across 6 months. Always on the 15th. Could be legitimate, Marcus said. Side income, consulting fees. From who? Lena challenged. There's no source listed. Vivian was already digging deeper, cross-referencing the deposit dates with case files. Her expression went from curious to horrified in seconds. The deposit started 2 weeks after the restaurant fire, she said quietly, and continued for 6 months, then stopped. Payment for services rendered, Marcus concluded. Grayer was on the take. More than that, Vivian pulled up another file, the official investigation report from the restaurant fire. Grayer was the lead detective. He's the one who ruled it an electrical malfunction instead of arson, the one who closed the case before anyone could investigate Bishop's involvement. He protected Bishop, Lena whispered. 7 years ago, He made sure Bishop could disappear. And now Bishop's back, and Grayer's in the federal building with Damien. Vivian was already grabbing her phone. We need to get him out. Now! But before she could dial, gunfire erupted. Not from the federal building, from somewhere close. Too close. Marcus swore and the van's windshield exploded inward, safety glass showering everyone inside. Down! Marcus shouted, already moving. He grabbed Eli and pulled him to the floor while Lena threw herself flat against the seats. More gunfire. Methodical, professional. Bullets punched through the van's armor in a pattern that suggested someone knew exactly where the weak points were. They found us, Vivian said, already returning fire through the shattered windshield. Marcus, we need to move. Can't start the engine without exposing myself. Then we go on foot. The back doors burst open. Lena expected enemies, but instead saw federal agents, guns drawn, faces grim. Out of the vehicle, one of them shouted. Now! We're under fire, Vivian yelled back. We know. That's why we're extracting you. It didn't make sense. None of it made sense. But bullets were still flying, and Eli was terrified, and Lena's survival instinct overrode her suspicion. She helped Marcus get Eli out of the van while Vivian provided cover fire. The federal agents surrounded them immediately, creating a human shield as they moved toward the federal building. Lena caught glimpses of the shooters. 2 men on a rooftop across the street, pinned down by federal snipers who'd appeared from nowhere. They made it inside. The federal building's lobby had been transformed into a tactical staging area. Agents in body armor, weapons everywhere, the kind of rapid response that spoke to advanced planning. What the hell is happening? Lena demanded. Your vehicle was compromised, one of the agents replied. We've been tracking multiple hostiles converging on this location for the past 20 minutes. Tracking how? Bishop gave us actionable intelligence in exchange for protection. Said there would be an attack on anyone associated with Damien Voss. We took the threat seriously. Bishop. Always Bishop. Like he'd orchestrated every move, every response, Where's Damien? Lena asked suddenly. The agent hesitated. In protective custody. Upstairs. I need to see him. That's not possible right now. I need to see him now. Lena stepped forward, ignoring the pain in her side. Because if Bishop told you there'd be an attack, it's because he wanted you here. Wanted everyone in one place. And that means something worse is coming. The agent's radio crackled. A voice came through, urgent, panicked. Bomb threat, northwest stairwell, explosive device confirmed, evacuate immediately. The lobby erupted into chaos. Agents shouted orders, civilians screamed. Lena felt hands grab her and Eli, pulling them toward an exit. No! She fought against the grip. Damien's still upstairs. We'll get him. You don't understand. An explosion tore through the building's upper floors. The shockwave hit like a physical wall, throwing everyone to the ground. Lena's ears rang. Smoke filled the lobby. Through the chaos, she saw the northwest stairwell, the one the radio had mentioned, completely intact. The bomb hadn't been there. It had been somewhere else. Somewhere specific. She grabbed the nearest agent. Where was Damien? What floor? 6th. Interview room 632. Lena looked up through the smoke and saw flames licking out of broken windows on the 6th floor. No. The word came out small, broken. No, no, no. Marcus was there suddenly, soot-covered but moving. We need to go. Building's compromised. They're evacuating everyone. Damien's up there. I know, but we can't I'm not leaving him. Lena pulled away and ran for the stairs. Behind her, she heard Marcus swear and give chase. But she was already climbing, taking steps 3 at a time, despite the agony in her side. Smoke thickened as she ascended. Heat pressed against her skin. Emergency sprinklers activated, turning everything into a wet, gray nightmare. 5th floor, 6th floor. The hallway was an inferno. Flames consumed everything, carpet, walls, ceiling tiles dropping like burning snow. Lena grabbed a fire extinguisher from a wall mount and used it to clear a path, spraying foam ahead of her. Damien! She screamed. Damien, where are you? Nothing. Just the roar of fire and the groan of stressed metal. She found room 632. The door was blown outward, twisted metal and shattered glass. Inside bodies, federal agents, prosecutors, and there, slumped against the far wall, barely conscious. Damien. Lena stumbled through the wreckage and dropped to her knees beside him. Blood everywhere. His face was burned on one side, breathing shallow. Hey! She grabbed his face, forcing him to focus. Hey, look at me. Stay awake. His eyes fluttered open, unfocused, confused. Lena? Yeah, it's me. We need to move. Can you stand? I don't. Everything's. I know, but we're leaving. Right now. She got an arm under his shoulders and pulled. Damien groaned but managed to get his feet under him. Together, they stumbled toward the door. The hallway had gotten worse. Flames blocked the path to the stairs. Lena looked around desperately, searching for another route. Window, Damien gasped. Break the window. We're 6 floors up. Fire escape should be. He coughed, nearly collapsing. Should be outside. Lena dragged him to the nearest window and used the fire extinguisher to smash through the glass. Cold air rushed in, momentarily clearing the smoke. She looked out and saw it. A rusted fire escape clinging to the building's exterior. This is insane, she muttered, but she was already climbing through. She helped Damien out after her. Both of them balanced precariously on a metal platform that groaned under their weight. They descended slowly. Lena's hands burned where they gripped the scorching metal. Damien nearly passed out twice, only staying conscious through sheer willpower. By the time they reached the ground level, Lena's vision was swimming from exhaustion and blood loss. Marcus was there, weapon drawn, covering their descent. You're both idiots. Noted, Lena gasped. Where's Eli? Safe. Vivian has him in a secondary vehicle 3 blocks out. We need to go. Now. Federal agents swarmed the building's perimeter, too focused on the fire and evacuation to notice 3 figures slipping into the shadows. Marcus led them through back alleys and service corridors, taking a route he'd clearly pre-scouted. They reached the secondary vehicle, an unmarked sedan with Vivian in the driver's seat and Eli in the back. Lena practically collapsed into the back seat beside her brother while Marcus loaded Damien into the passenger seat. Drive, Marcus ordered. Vivian drove. No one spoke for the first 10 minutes. They just breathed, processing the fact that they were alive, that they'd escaped when logic said they shouldn't have. Finally, Damien broke the silence. Grayer, he said. His voice was rough, damaged by smoke inhalation. Detective Grayer was there, in the interrogation room. Damien coughed violently. He was asking about the restaurant fire, about my testimony. Then the bomb went off. Grayer's dirty, Vivian said. We found payments in his bank records. He's been working with Bishop from the beginning. Not with Bishop. Damien's head lolled back against the headrest. Grayer said something right before the explosion. Said his employer was tired of waiting. Employer? Lena leaned forward. Who employs a dirty cop to protect an assassin? Someone with resources, Marcus said. Someone who could plan 7 years ahead. Someone who... Vivian's phone rang. She glanced at it and her face went white. It's from Bishop's cloned phone. Encrypted message. Just came through. What does it say? Vivian pulled over and turned the phone around so everyone could see the screen. A photograph. Recent. Taken from a high vantage point. Showing all of them in the sedan. Vivian, Marcus, Damien, Lena, and Eli. Taken from above. Taken right now. Below the image, a single line of text. Tell Damien that Dragunov sends his regards. The name hit like a physical blow. Lena watched Damien's expression transform from confusion to recognition to something that looked like absolute horror. No, he whispered. It can't be. Who's Dragunov? Lena demanded. Mikhail Dragunov. Damien's hands were shaking. Russian crime lord. I destroyed his smuggling empire 5 years ago, took his territories, eliminated his lieutenants. I thought... He stopped, struggling for words. I thought he was dead. Clearly not, Vivian said. This whole thing, Bishop, Grayer, the federal setup, it was all Dragunov? Marcus asked. He's patient, Damien replied. Methodical. Doesn't just kill his enemies. He dismantles them piece by piece, takes everything they built and burns it in front of them. So what does he want? Eli asked. Before anyone could answer, every phone in the car buzzed simultaneously. Same message, same sender. You're wondering where I am? Look up. They all looked up through the sedan's sunroof. A drone. Small. Commercial. hovering directly above them with a blinking red light that meant only one thing. "Drive!" Damien shouted. "Vivian, drive now!" Vivian floored it. The sedan lurched forward, tires screaming. Behind them, the drone followed, maintaining perfect distance. "It's tracking us," Marcus said, already pulling out his weapon. "Don't shoot it," Damien ordered. "The moment we show aggression, it'll—" The drone's red light changed to green. Then it dove, straight toward the car. Vivian swerved. The drone adjusted trajectory midair, staying locked on target. It was 10 feet away, 5 feet, 3. Marcus shot it. The drone exploded, not a huge blast, but enough to shatter the rear windshield and send the sedan into a spin. Vivian fought for control, managed to straighten out, but they'd lost precious seconds. Seconds that let 3 black SUVs appear from side streets, boxing them in. "We're trapped," Vivian said. Damien pulled out his phone with shaking hands and dialed a number. It rang once, twice. Then a voice answered, heavily accented, dripping with satisfaction. "Hello, Damien." "Dragunov. You sound surprised. Did you really think I would stay dead just because you needed me to be?" "What do you want?" "What do I want?" Dragunov laughed, a cold, mirthless sound. "I want to watch you lose everything, Damien, just like you made me lose everything. Your empire, your allies, your freedom. And then, when you have nothing left, when you're broken and desperate and begging—" The line went quiet for a moment. "Then I want to watch you burn." The call ended. The black SUVs closed in from all sides. Lena grabbed Eli's hand, squeezing tight. This was it, the endgame. Everything had been leading to this moment. Every decision, every escape, every small victory had just been delaying the inevitable. Damien met Lena's eyes in the rearview mirror. "I'm sorry for all of this, for dragging you into—" "Shut up," Lena interrupted. "We're not dead yet. We're about to be. Then we go down fighting." Marcus chambered a round in his weapon. Vivian's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Even Eli sat up straighter, fear replaced by something harder. The SUVs stopped. Doors opened. Men emerged. Too many to count, all armed, all moving with military precision. And in the center, climbing out of the lead vehicle, a man Lena had never seen before, but recognized instantly from Damien's expression. Mikhail Dragunov. Older than she expected. Gray hair, expensive suit, carrying himself like someone who'd never questioned his right to take whatever he wanted. He walked toward their sedan slowly, savoring the moment. Behind him, his men formed a perimeter. No escape, no mercy, no hope. Dragunov stopped 10 feet from the driver's side window and smiled. "Damien Voss," he said, loud enough to be heard through the glass. "It's time we had a conversation about the future. Or rather," his smile widened, "about how you don't have one." Dragunov's men had them surrounded within seconds, weapons trained on every window, every door, every possible angle of escape. Lena counted at least 15 shooters, maybe more hidden in the vehicles or on nearby rooftops. The kind of overwhelming force that didn't leave room for heroics or last-minute miracles. Damien stared through the windshield at Dragunov, his burned face expressionless despite the pain he had to be feeling. "What now? You execute us in the street? Very public, very messy." "Nothing so crude." Dragunov pulled out a cigarette, lit it with a gold lighter that probably cost more than Lena's entire year of delivery wages. "You and I are going to have a civilized conversation. Your friends can wait in the vehicles, unharmed, for now." "And if I refuse?" Dragunov gestured casually. One of his men stepped forward and pressed a gun against the rear passenger window, directly against Eli's head. Eli went rigid, eyes wide with terror. "Then the boy dies first," Dragunov said. "Then the girl, then your associates, one by one, while you watch. Or," he smiled, "you come with me. We talk. And maybe everyone survives the next 5 minutes." Lena felt ice flood her veins. Her hand found Eli's, squeezing so hard her knuckles went white. "Don't," she whispered to Damien. "Don't do it. It's a trap." "Of course it's a trap," Damien replied quietly. His hand moved to the door handle. "But it's the only one giving us any time at all." "Damien," Vivian started. "Keep them safe," Damien interrupted. "Whatever happens next, just keep them safe." He opened the door before anyone could argue and stepped out into the cold night air. Dragunov's men moved immediately, patting him down, removing weapons, pushing him forward toward the lead SUV. Damien didn't resist, just walked with his head up, shoulders back, refusing to show weakness even as blood dripped from his burned face onto the asphalt. Dragunov watched this with obvious satisfaction. "You look terrible, Damien. The fire didn't agree with you." "The feeling's mutual. Still defiant. I admire that, truly." Dragunov took a drag from his cigarette. "It's going to make breaking you so much more satisfying." They reached the SUV. Dragunov climbed into the back seat, gesturing for Damien to follow. The moment both men were inside, the door slammed shut. Tinted windows hid whatever was happening inside from Lena's view. "We need to do something," Eli said, his voice shaking. "We can't just sit here while—" "We don't have a choice," Marcus replied from the front seat. His weapon was in his lap, ready but useless against the overwhelming numbers surrounding them. "Any move we make gets everyone killed. So we just wait?" "We wait." Vivian's tablet chimed. She glanced at it, and her expression shifted from grim to calculating. "I'm picking up electronic surveillance. Multiple signals. Dragunov's recording whatever he's saying to Damien." "Why?" Lena asked. "Insurance? Or evidence? Or both?" Vivian's fingers flew across the keyboard. "Give me 30 seconds. I might be able to tap into the feed." She worked in silence while everyone else sat frozen, watching the SUV where Damien had disappeared. 20 seconds. 30. 40. "Got it," Vivian breathed. She turned the tablet around. On screen, grainy video showed the SUV's interior. Damien on one side, Dragunov on the other, separated by a leather middle console. Vivian unmuted the audio. 7 years I've been planning this," Dragunov was saying. 7 years watching you build your little empire on the ashes of mine. Watching you take my territories, my contacts, my reputation, all while I rotted in a Siberian prison because of your testimony." "You got out," Damien replied. His voice was steady despite the obvious pain he was in. "I bought my way out, cost me everything I had left. Then I spent 3 more years rebuilding, slowly, carefully, making sure you never knew I was alive." Dragunov leaned forward. "Bishop was expensive. Greyer was expensive. The federal operation was expensive. But watching you lose everything tonight, priceless." "You haven't won yet." "Haven't I?" Dragunov gestured toward the sedan where Lena and the others waited. "Your people are surrounded. Your empire is being dismantled as we speak. My associates are moving into every territory you control, taking over every operation. By sunrise, Damien Voss will be a memory. A cautionary tale about what happens when you cross the wrong people. You're going to kill me. Eventually, but not quickly. Not mercifully." Dragunov's smile widened. "First, you're going to watch me destroy everything you care about, starting with those children in the car." Damien's expression finally cracked. Fear, raw and undisguised. "They're not part of this. They're civilians. Collateral damage you created when you put an assassin on the street." "Exactly. Which makes them perfect leverage." Dragunov pulled out his phone. "I'm going to make you a deal, Damien. One chance to save their lives." "What deal?" "You come work for me, publicly. Transfer all your territories, your contacts, your operations to my control. Become my lieutenant, my servant. Spend the rest of your life knowing that everything you built belongs to me." Dragunov's eyes glittered. "Do that. And I let the girl and her brother walk away. They disappear. New identities, new lives. Completely untouched. And if I refuse? Then I kill them in front of you, slowly, starting with the boy." In the sedan, Lena felt bile rise in her throat. Eli's hand was shaking in hers. Even Marcus looked pale. "He's not going to do it," Vivian said quietly. "Damien would rather die than submit." "Then we're all dead," Marcus replied. On screen, Damien sat perfectly still for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. "I accept." Lena's heart stopped. No, he can't. He just did," Vivian said. Shock colored her tone. "He actually just—" Dragunov looked equally surprised. "You're serious?" "Completely." Damien met his eyes. "I transfer everything to you. I work for you. I become whatever you want me to be. In exchange, Lena and Eli Vale walk away clean, untouched, protected. Those are the terms." What about your other associates? The blonde woman, the soldier? They're professionals. They knew the risks. Damien's jaw tightened. But the Veils are innocent. That's the deal. Take it or leave it. Dragunov considered this, clearly savoring the moment. You'd give up everything for two strangers you met 3 days ago? They're not strangers anymore. How touching. Dragunov stubbed out his cigarette. Fine. I accept your terms. The Veils go free. You belong to me. He pulled out his phone and made a call, spoke rapid Russian that Lena couldn't understand, then ended the call and looked at Damien. Done. My people are standing down. The children can leave right now. They'll be driven to a safe location and given new identities within 72 hours. I want proof they made it out safely. You're not in a position to demand proof. Then we don't have a deal. Damien's voice went hard. I want confirmation they're safe before I sign anything over to you. Dragunov studied him for a moment, then shrugged. Fine. You can watch them drive away. Satisfied? For now. Dragunov made another call. Seconds later, one of his men approached the sedan and knocked on the window. Marcus rolled it down an inch. The Veils, the man said in heavily accented English. You're free to go. The rest of you stay. Bullshit, Marcus replied. This is a setup. No setup. Mr. Dragunov keeps his word. The man gestured toward a black sedan that had pulled up behind them. That vehicle will take you to a safe location. You have 2 minutes to transfer. Lena looked at Vivian. What do we do? I don't know. For the first time since Lena had met her, Vivian looked genuinely lost. This could be legitimate, or it could be a trap to separate us before killing everyone. Only one way to find out, Eli said quietly. He was looking at the SUV where Damien sat watching them through tinted windows. And if we don't go, Damien's sacrifice means nothing. He's right, Marcus said. If this is real, if Dragunov actually honors the deal, then Lena and Eli need to take it. And if it's not real, Lena demanded, then at least you tried. The logic was insane. Everything about this was insane. But Lena looked at her brother, 22 years old, disabled, terrified, but somehow still ready to be brave for her, and made a decision. We go, she said, together. Vivian grabbed her arm. Lena, I'm not leaving Damien to this. Not after everything. Lena pulled away and opened the car door. Come on, Eli. Let's see if we're actually free or just walking into a cleaner execution. They climbed out slowly. Dragunov's men watched but didn't interfere. Marcus helped Eli into his wheelchair, the one they'd somehow managed to keep with them through all the chaos, and pushed him toward the waiting sedan. Lena walked beside them, every muscle tensed for gunfire that didn't come. They reached the new vehicle. The driver got out, a woman in her 40s, professional-looking, not visibly armed. Get in, she said. We need to move quickly. Where are you taking us? Lena asked. Somewhere safe, that's all I'm authorized to say. Lena looked back at the SUV where Damien sat with Dragunov. She couldn't see his face through the tinted windows, but she imagined him watching, making sure they actually escaped before submitting completely to whatever hell Dragunov had planned. Wait, Lena said suddenly. She walked toward the SUV before anyone could stop her. One of Dragunov's men moved to intercept, but Dragunov's voice crackled through a radio. Let her approach. Lena reached the SUV and knocked on the window. It rolled down an inch. Damien's burned face appeared in the gap. You need to go, he said quietly. I know. Lena swallowed hard. But I need to say something first. Make it fast. This isn't over. Whatever he's planning, whatever deal you just made, it's not the end. We're going to find a way to... Lena. Damien's voice was gentle. There is no we anymore. You and Eli are going to disappear. Build new lives. Forget this ever happened. I can't just forget... Yes, you can, because that's what survival looks like. Damien's eyes were intense despite the pain clouding them. I made this choice. I knew what I was trading. Don't make it meaningless by trying to be a hero. I'm not trying to be a hero. I'm trying to save someone who saved me. I didn't save you. I dragged you into hell. Damien reached through the gap and briefly touched her hand. Go, please, while you still can. The window rolled up before Lena could respond. She stood there for a moment, hands still raised, trying to find words that didn't exist. Then Marcus was there, gently pulling her toward the waiting sedan. Come on, we're out of time. They loaded Eli into the back seat. Lena climbed in beside him. The driver got in and started the engine. Wait! Lena grabbed the driver's shoulder. Where's Vivian and Marcus? They're not part of the deal, the driver replied. Only the veils go free. Then I'm not going. Lena, Eli started, I'm not leaving them behind. Change the terms or I get out right now. The driver was already on her radio, speaking rapid Russian. A pause. Then Dragunov's voice, annoyed but amused. The girl has spirit. Fine. All of you go. Consider it a bonus for entertaining me. Vivian and Marcus climbed into the sedan moments later, weapons still holstered, expressions grim. The moment they were inside, the driver accelerated hard, pulling away from the scene. Lena twisted in her seat, watching through the rear window as Dragunov's men surrounded the SUV where Damien sat. They were moving him, dragging him out, forcing him into a different vehicle. No, Lena whispered. No, we can't just... We don't have a choice, Vivian said. Her voice was hollow. Damien made the call. We have to honor it. By running away? By surviving. Because if we're all dead, then he's sacrificed himself for nothing. The sedan turned a corner and the scene disappeared from view. Lena slumped back in her seat, feeling something inside her crack and crumble. 3 days ago, she'd been a delivery driver with normal problems. Now she was fleeing through Chicago in the middle of the night, while the man who'd saved her life surrendered himself to torture and death. Where are we going? Marcus asked the driver. Safe house on the north side. You'll stay there until new identities are arranged. How long? 72 hours. Maybe less. They drove in silence. Lena stared out the window, watching the city blur past. Every street corner reminded her of something, the delivery route she used to run, the hospital where Eli got his physical therapy, the grocery store where she'd worked weekends to make extra money. Her entire life condensed into fragments of memory that felt increasingly distant and unreal. The safe house turned out to be a brownstone in a quiet residential neighborhood. No guards visible, no obvious security, just a normal-looking house that could have belonged to anyone. The driver parked in an alley behind the building and led them inside through a back entrance. The interior was sparse but functional. Basic furniture, clean but impersonal, the kind of place designed for temporary occupation. There's food in the kitchen, the driver said. Medical supplies in the bathroom. Don't leave the house. Don't contact anyone outside. Someone will check on you in 12 hours. She left before anyone could ask questions. The door locked behind her with an ominous click. Eli wheeled himself to the living room window and looked out at the empty street. This is really happening. We're actually going into witness protection, or whatever this is. Not witness protection, Vivian corrected. She was already setting up her laptop on the kitchen table, fingers flying across the keyboard. This is damage control, Dragunov's version of tying up loose ends cleanly. You think he'll actually honor the deal? Lena asked. I think he'll honor it as long as it serves his purposes. Which means we have maybe 72 hours before he decides we're more valuable dead than alive. Great. Wonderful. Very reassuring. Marcus was checking the house methodically. Windows, doors, potential exits. Place is clean. No surveillance I can detect, but that doesn't mean much. So we're prisoners, Eli said. We're alive, Marcus replied. That's more than I expected an hour ago. Lena sank into a chair, exhaustion finally catching up with her. The adrenaline that had kept her moving was fading, leaving only pain and shock. Her side throbbed where the wound had torn open again during the escape from the federal building. Blood seeped through her shirt. Vivian noticed. You're bleeding again. I know. That needs attention. Later. Lena, I said later. Lena closed her eyes. Right now I need to think about what happens next, about how we're supposed to just walk away and build new lives while Damien, her voice cracked, while Damien suffers whatever Dragunov has planned. There's nothing we can do, Vivian said quietly. Dragunov has him, has resources we can't match. Even if we wanted to mount a rescue, which would be suicide, we don't know where they took him. So that's it? We just accept it? We accept that we're alive because Damien chose to save us. And we honor that choice by staying alive. Lena wanted to scream, wanted to throw something, wanted to rewind time 3 days and make different choices, take different routes, stand anywhere except that specific corner where a bullet had torn through her side and dragged her into this nightmare. But she couldn't do any of those things. So she just sat there, bleeding and exhausted and trying not to think about what Damien was going through right now. Her new phone buzzed, the one Vivian had given her earlier. Lena pulled it out, expecting spam or a wrong number. Unknown sender, video file. Her blood went cold. Vivian. Vivian looked up, saw Lena's expression. What is it? Message. Video. Unknown sender. Don't open it, Marcus warned. Could be malware. Could be... Lena opened it. The video was short, 20 seconds. Shot from a fixed camera in what looked like a warehouse or industrial space. Damien was visible in the center, tied to a chair, face bruised, breathing labored. Dragunov stood beside him, smiling at the camera. Hello, Lena Vale, Dragunov said. His voice was cheerful, conversational, like he was greeting an old friend. I wanted you to see this, to understand what your survival cost. He turned to Damien. Any last words for the girl who got you killed? Damien looked directly at the camera. His eyes were clear despite the obvious pain. Run. Don't look back. Just run. The video ended. Lena stared at the black screen, hands shaking so hard she nearly dropped the phone. Then it buzzed again. Another message. Same unknown sender. Text this time. You have 12 hours to decide. Return yourself to me in exchange for Damien's life. Or disappear and live knowing you chose yourself over him. Either way, I win. Sleep well, Lena Vale. The phone slipped from her fingers and clattered onto the table. Vivian grabbed it, read the message, then swore viciously in 3 languages. It's a trap, obviously. Dragunov wants you back under his control. He'll never actually release Damien. Maybe not, Lena said slowly. But what if he's telling the truth? What if trading myself actually saves Damien's life? It won't. You don't know that. Yes, I do, because I've seen how men like Dragunov operate. They don't make deals. They don't show mercy. They take everything and give nothing. Vivian's voice was hard. If you go back, you both die. At least this way, one of you survives. That's not survival. That's just slower death. Eli wheeled closer. Lena, look at me. He waited until she met his eyes. You're not actually considering this. Tell me you're not actually considering trading yourself. I don't know. Lena's voice came out small, broken. I don't know what I'm considering anymore. Nothing makes sense. Nothing feels real. This is real. Eli grabbed her hand. You and me, Marcus and Vivian, we're alive because Damien gave us a chance. Don't waste that chance by walking back into the fire. But if I don't, then Damien made his choice for nothing, and you dishonor that choice by throwing away the life he saved. The logic was sound. Lena knew it was sound, but logic felt meaningless when she could still see Damien's face on that video, bruised and beaten and telling her to run. I need air, she muttered, standing up. I need to think. Don't go outside, Marcus warned. I'm going to the back porch. That's it. She walked through the house to a small covered porch that overlooked an overgrown yard. The night air was cold, biting, exactly what she needed to clear her head. She leaned against the railing and stared up at a sky too polluted with light to show stars. 12 hours to decide. 12 hours to choose between saving herself or sacrificing everything for a man she barely knew. Except she did know him. Not his history or his crimes or even his real personality beneath all the armor. But she knew the core of him, the part that had carried her bleeding body through chaos instead of walking away. The part that had protected Eli without hesitation. The part that had surrendered himself to torture rather than let innocents suffer. That was worth something. That was worth everything. Footsteps behind her. Lena turned and saw Vivian standing in the doorway, laptop under one arm. I hate what you're thinking, Vivian said. You don't know what I'm thinking. You're thinking about going back, trading yourself, playing hero. And if I am, then you're an idiot. Vivian stepped onto the porch. But you're an idiot Damien cares about, which means I can't let you throw your life away without at least trying to talk you out of it. There's nothing to talk about. There's everything to talk about. Vivian set her laptop on a small table. I've worked for Damien for 6 years. Seen him make hard choices. seen him sacrifice pieces of himself to protect what matters, but I've never seen him surrender completely. Not until tonight. Your point? My point is that you changed something in him, made him remember that some things are worth more than power or survival. That's dangerous and beautiful and utterly terrifying. Vivian met Lena's eyes. And if you go back to Dragunov, you erase that. You turn Damien's sacrifice into just another transaction, another piece of violence in a violent world. Or I save his life. You won't. Dragunov is playing you, using your guilt and your connection to Damien to manipulate you into walking back into his control. Maybe. But what if he's not? What if there's even a small chance that trading myself actually works? Then you're gambling your life on a sociopath's honesty. Those are terrible odds. Lena turned back to the yard. I've been playing terrible odds my whole life. Why stop now? They stood in silence for a moment. In the distance, sirens wailed, police or ambulance or fire, impossible to tell. Just the constant background noise of a city that never stopped hurting. If you're actually considering this, Vivian said finally, then at least let me help. Give me 12 hours to find out where they're holding Damien. Build a real rescue plan instead of just surrendering. You said rescue was impossible. I said it was suicide. That's different from impossible. Vivian pulled up something on her laptop. I still have access to some of Damien's networks, contacts who might know where Dragunov operates. If I can pinpoint a location, Marcus and I could what? Storm a fortress with 2 people and limited weapons? That's not a plan. That's a death wish. So is walking back to Dragunov alone. At least my death wish might actually save someone. Vivian's expression softened slightly. You really care about him. After 3 days of chaos and violence, you actually care. I don't know what I feel, Lena admitted. Fear, mostly. Guilt. Anger at the universe for putting me on that street corner at exactly the wrong moment. But yeah, underneath all that, she stopped, struggling for words. He could have left me. Should have left me. Instead, he saved my life and my brother's life and asked for nothing in return except that we survive. How am I supposed to just walk away from that? By recognizing that surviving is the only way to honor it, or by recognizing that some debts can't be repaid with survival alone. Before Vivian could respond, Marcus appeared in the doorway. His expression was grim. We have a problem, he said. Another one? Lena asked. Vivian's laptop just picked up a signal. Someone's tracking it. Has been for the past 20 minutes. Vivian swore and slammed the laptop shut. How? I'm running triple encryption, military-grade firewalls. No one should be able to... Well, someone did. And now they know exactly where we are. The implications hit like ice water. Dragunov, Lena whispered. Probably. Or whoever he's working with. Marcus was already moving, checking weapons. Either way, we need to move. Now. Where? Eli called from inside. We don't know the city. Don't have resources. Don't have... Glass shattered in the front room. Something metallic clattered across the floor. Down! Marcus shouted. Everyone dropped flat as the flashbang detonated. White light and deafening sound turned the world into chaos. Lena's ears rang. Her vision swam. She tried to move and couldn't remember which direction was up. Then hands grabbed her, rough, pulling her upright. She fought blindly, but whoever held her was strong, professional, already binding her wrists with zip ties. Her vision cleared enough to see Marcus fighting 2 men in tactical gear. Vivian was down, bleeding from her temple. Eli was screaming something Lena couldn't hear through the ringing in her ears. More men poured through the shattered front door. Too many. Way too many. This wasn't Dragunov's people. The gear was wrong. The tactics were wrong. These were federal agents, someone shouted. Everyone on the ground, now! Federal agents, breaking into the safe house, taking them into custody, which meant Dragunov had been playing them from the beginning. The safe house was never safe. It was a holding cell designed to keep them contained until the feds could arrive and clean up the mess. Lena stopped fighting, let them cuff her, watched as they did the same to Marcus and Vivian and Eli. Within minutes, all 4 of them were being led out to waiting FBI vehicles while neighbors emerged from houses to watch the spectacle. They were separated immediately, Lena in one vehicle, Eli in another, Marcus and Vivian in a third. No chance to coordinate. No chance to plan. The agent driving Lena's vehicle glanced at her in the rearview mirror. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. I know my rights, Lena interrupted. Where are you taking me? Federal holding facility. You'll be processed and assigned a cell until arraignment. On what charges? Conspiracy, obstruction, association with known criminals. Take your pick. The agent's expression was neutral, professional. You got mixed up with some very bad people, Ms. Vale. But if you cooperate, if you testify against Damien Voss and his organization, the prosecutor might be willing to make a deal. Lena laughed. The sound came out bitter, broken. Testify against Damien? That's what you think I'm going to do? It's what smart people do when they're facing 20 years in federal prison. Then I guess I'm not very smart. They drove the rest of the way in silence. Lena watched Chicago blur past the window and tried to process what had just happened. Dragunov hadn't honored the deal. Of course he hadn't. He'd used them as bait to draw out any remaining loyalists, then handed them over to federal authorities to be dismantled through legal channels. Clean, efficient, completely untraceable back to him. The holding facility was exactly as depressing as Lena expected. Concrete and steel and fluorescent lights that made everything look gray and lifeless. She was processed, photographed, fingerprinted, and placed in a cell that smelled like desperation and industrial cleaner. She sat on the metal bench and stared at the wall, trying to find some angle she'd missed, some leverage or escape route or last-minute miracle. Nothing came. Hours passed. Maybe. Time felt meaningless in the windowless cell. Lena drifted in and out of consciousness, too exhausted to maintain awareness, too wired to actually sleep. Finally, footsteps in the hallway. A guard appeared outside her cell. You have a visitor, he said. I didn't request. Doesn't matter. Visitor requested you. Come on. He led her to a small interrogation room where a man waited. Not a lawyer, not a Fed. Someone Lena recognized from Vivian's research. Detective Nathan Grayer. Lena's blood ran cold. You're supposed to be under investigation for corruption. I was. Grayer smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Turns out I had friends in high places, friends who convinced the prosecutors that my cooperation was more valuable than my conviction. Let me guess. Dragunov. Among others. You'd be surprised how deep this goes, Ms. Vale. How many people have been planning Damien Voss's downfall? Grayer leaned forward. But you already know that, don't you? You've seen how this works, how power really operates in this city. What do you want? I want you to understand your situation. Right now, you're facing serious charges. But those charges could disappear if you're willing to help us finish what we started. Help you how? Testify against Voss. Give us details about his operations. Confirm that he orchestrated the violence at the grain terminal and the federal building. Grayer pulled out a folder. Do that, and you walk away. Clean record. New identity. Your brother gets the medical care he needs. Everyone wins. Except Damien. Damien made his choices. Now you get to make yours. Grayer slid the folder across the table. This is a cooperation agreement. Sign it, and this nightmare ends tonight. Lena stared at the folder without touching it. And if I refuse? Then you go to trial, get convicted, spend the next decade in federal prison while your brother ends up in state care. Grayer's expression didn't change. Is protecting a criminal really worth destroying both your lives? The question hung in the air between them. Lena thought about Eli, about the physical therapy he needed, the medications, the specialized care that kept him mobile and functional. Thought about what would happen to him if she went to prison. Who would take care of him? Who would fight for him? Then she thought about Damien, bleeding and beaten in some warehouse, suffering because he'd chosen to protect her instead of himself. No, she said quietly. Grayer blinked. No what? No, I'm not signing anything. No, I'm not testifying. No, I'm not helping you destroy someone who saved my life. Lena met his eyes. So you can take your cooperation agreement and think very carefully about this, Grayer interrupted. You're throwing away your only chance at, I know exactly what I'm throwing away, and I'm doing it anyway. Lena stood up. We're done here. Sit down, Ms. Vale. No, we're done. Lena turned toward the door and raised her voice. Guard, I'm ready to go back to my cell. The door opened. The guard appeared, looking confused. Grayer started to protest, but Lena was already moving, letting herself be led back down the hallway. She'd just signed her own death warrant, condemned herself to years in prison and Eli to an uncertain future. Made a choice that logic said was absolutely insane. But for the first time in 3 days, she felt certain about something. Back in her cell, Lena lay down on the metal bench and closed her eyes. Sleep wouldn't come. Her mind was too active, racing through implications and consequences, but she could rest, could stop fighting for just a moment. Then her cell door opened again. Lena sat up, expecting another interrogator. Instead, she saw Vivian, bruised, bloodied, but very much free and carrying 2 duffel bags. "Get up," Vivian said. "We're leaving." "How bet?" Damien had contingencies, backups for the backups, judges on payroll, guards who remember favors. Vivian tossed one of the duffel bags onto the bench. "Your brother's already out. Marcus is handling extraction. We have maybe 5 minutes before someone notices the paperwork doesn't match reality." Lena grabbed the bag and found clothes, cash, a new phone. "Where are we going?" "To finish this." Vivian's expression was hard. "I found where they're holding Damien, and I found something else, something that changes everything." "What?" "Proof that Dragunov isn't working alone. He's got backing from someone inside the federal system, someone who's been protecting him while using him to destroy Damien." "Who?" Vivian pulled out her tablet and showed Lena a photograph. A man in an expensive suit standing beside Dragunov at what looked like a private function, smiling, shaking hands like old friends. Assistant U.S. Attorney Jennifer Walsh, the same prosecutor who'd ordered Damien's arrest hours earlier. "It's a conspiracy," Lena whispered. "Federal and criminal, working together. Has been for years. Walsh uses Dragunov to eliminate competitors. Dragunov uses Walsh to eliminate legal threats. They've built an empire by destroying anyone who gets in their way. And Damien got in their way. Exactly." Vivian's eyes were cold. "But here's the thing about conspiracies. They're only strong until someone exposes them. And I just downloaded enough evidence to burn both of them to the ground." "Then why haven't you?" "Because I need Damien alive to testify. Need him free and functional and ready to fight." Vivian grabbed Lena's arm. "Which means we're going to get him back. Tonight. Even if it kills us." Lena should have been terrified, should have run the other direction, should have taken Eli and disappeared like every rational instinct screamed at her to do. Instead, she zipped up the duffel bag and followed Vivian out of the cell. "Let's go get him," she said. And for the first time in 3 days, she smiled. The warehouse district south of the river looked like the kind of place the city had forgotten on purpose. Rusted machinery silhouetted against a bruised pre-dawn sky, buildings sagging under the weight of decades, streets cratered and cracked where nature was slowly reclaiming concrete. Vivian drove the stolen SUV through this industrial graveyard with the headlights off, navigating by memory and the faint glow of distant streetlights. Lena sat in the passenger seat, checking the magazine on a handgun she barely knew how to use. Marcus had given her a 5-minute crash course during the drive. Point, squeeze, don't close your eyes. But theory felt meaningless when her hands wouldn't stop shaking. In the back seat, Eli sat beside Marcus, both of them silent. They'd tried to convince Eli to stay behind at a secondary safe house, but he'd refused with a stubbornness that reminded Lena exactly where she'd learned it from. "I'm not sitting this out," he'd said. "You're my sister. This is our fight now." So here they all were. 4 people with minimal weapons and even less chance of success, about to assault a fortress controlled by a Russian crime lord who'd been planning this moment for 7 years. The odds were terrible. Lena had stopped caring about odds. Vivian pulled the SUV into an alley 3 blocks from the target location and killed the engine. She pulled up a schematic on her tablet, floor plans she'd somehow acquired through contacts Lena didn't want to know about. "Dragunov is holding Damien here," Vivian pointed to a large warehouse at the center of the complex. "Main entrance is here, guarded. Side entrance here, also guarded. Loading dock in the back, less visible, but probably trapped." "How many hostiles?" Marcus asked. "Unknown, but assume at least 20. Dragunov doesn't take chances. 20 armed professionals versus 4 people, one of whom is in a wheelchair and 2 of whom have never fired a gun in anger." Marcus's tone was flat. "This is suicide." "Yes," Vivian agreed. It absolutely is. Good. Just wanted to make sure we were all clear on that. Lena looked at the schematic, trying to see angles the others might have missed. What about a distraction? Something to draw guards away from Damien's location? Like what? Vivian asked. Fire. Explosion. Something loud enough to make them think there's a bigger threat than 4 idiots with handguns. Marcus actually smiled at that. Not the worst idea. We've got enough accelerant in the back to create a decent blaze. Where would we set it? Fuel depot on the east side. It's abandoned but still has residual chemicals. Light it right and the whole thing goes up like a Roman candle. Which draws guards away from the main warehouse, Vivian said slowly, following the logic. Gives us maybe 5 minutes to get inside, find Damien, and extract before they realize it's a diversion. 5 minutes isn't much, Eli pointed out. It's more than we have now. Lena checked her weapon again, more out of nervous energy than necessity. What about after we get Damien? How do we get out? Same way we came in, fast and violent. Vivian pulled up another screen showing the route to the river. I've got a boat waiting at the dock. We make it there. We disappear into the water network. They can't follow without making noise the feds would notice. Speaking of feds, Marcus said, when are we sending them the evidence about Walsh and Dragunov? The moment Damien is safe, not before. Vivian's expression was hard. If we burn them prematurely, they'll go to ground and we'll never get justice. But if we wait until Damien can testify directly, can put a face and voice to the accusations, it becomes impossible to ignore. Assuming Damien's in any condition to testify, Lena said quietly. No one had an answer for that. They'd all seen the video, knew what Dragunov was capable of. The chances of finding Damien alive, let alone functional, were slim. But slim wasn't zero. And zero was what they'd have if they didn't try. All right. Vivian closed the tablet. Marcus, you set the fire. Lena and Eli, you're with me. We go in through the loading dock, locate Damien, and extract. Anyone who gets in our way. She left the sentence unfinished, but the implication was clear. Rules of engagement? Marcus asked. There are no rules. Not anymore. Vivian's eyes were cold. Dragunov declared war when he took Damien, so we give him war. They geared up in silence. Weapons, ammunition, body armor that Marcus had somehow procured. Lena helped Eli into a vest that looked comically oversized on his thin frame. He caught her looking and managed a weak smile. We're really doing this, he said. Yeah, we really are. You know this is insane, right? Completely. Good. Just checking. Lena kissed his forehead like she used to when they were kids and the world was simpler. Stay close to me. Whatever happens, just stay close. Always. Marcus left first, moving through the darkness with the duffel bag of accelerant. Vivian waited exactly 3 minutes, then led Lena and Eli toward the loading dock. They moved slowly, painfully aware of how exposed they were, every shadow potentially hiding a guard or camera. They reached the dock without incident. Vivian used a small tool to pick the lock on a side door, taking less than 30 seconds, and they slipped inside. The warehouse interior was cavernous, lit by scattered work lights that created pools of brightness separated by deep shadow. Machinery loomed everywhere, old conveyor systems, storage racks, equipment that hadn't moved in decades. The smell was overwhelming, rust and oil and something organic rotting in corners no one bothered to clean. Vivian moved through this maze with confidence, following the schematic she'd memorized. Lena pushed Eli's wheelchair as quietly as possible, but every small sound felt amplified in the vast space. They were halfway across the main floor when the explosion erupted. Even 3 blocks away, the blast was deafening, a rolling boom that shook the warehouse and sent rust flaking from the ceiling. Alarms immediately started wailing. Voices shouted in Russian. Footsteps thundered as guards rushed toward the explosion. Go! Vivian hissed. They ran, or rather, Vivian ran while Lena pushed Eli as fast as the wheelchair would allow. They reached a stairwell leading down to a basement level. Vivian descended first, weapon raised, clearing corners with professional precision. The basement was worse than the main floor, dimly lit, claustrophobic, lined with rooms that could have been offices or cells or both. Vivian checked doors methodically, moving fast but careful. Third door, locked, reinforced. Here, Vivian said. She shot the lock twice. The mechanism shattered. The door swung open. Inside, Damien. He was chained to a metal chair in the center of a concrete room, head hanging forward, face so swollen and bruised Lena barely recognized him. Blood pooled beneath the chair. His breathing was shallow, labored. "Oh, God," Lena whispered. Vivian was already moving, checking for traps, then kneeling beside Damien. "Boss, can you hear me?" Damien's head lifted slightly. One eye was swollen shut, the other cracked open and focused on Vivian with obvious effort. "You're supposed to be gone," he mumbled through split lips. "Yeah, well, I'm terrible at following orders." Vivian pulled out bolt cutters and started working on the chains. "We're getting you out. Can you walk?" "Not sure. Everything's—" Damien coughed and blood sprayed. "Everything's broken. We'll carry you if we have to." The chains fell away. Damien immediately slumped forward. Vivian caught him, struggling under his weight. Lena moved to help, getting under his other arm. Together, they lifted him. Damien groaned but managed to get his feet under him. Barely. "Eli," Lena said, "can you—" "I got it." Eli was already wheeling himself toward the door. "Let's move before they realize what happened." They made it out of the cell and halfway down the corridor before running into guards. 3 men in tactical gear, weapons raised, already shouting in Russian. Vivian reacted instantly, pulling Damien and Lena to the floor while returning fire. The confined space turned deafening, gunshots echoing off concrete, muzzle flashes strobing the darkness. One guard went down, then another. The third got a shot off that sparked off the wall inches from Eli's wheelchair. Then Marcus appeared from a side corridor and put 2 rounds through the third guard's chest. "We need to move," he said. "They're regrouping upstairs. We've got maybe 2 minutes before this place becomes a kill box." "Damien can't run," Lena said. "Then we carry him faster." They did. Marcus took most of Damien's weight while Lena helped Eli navigate the uneven floor. Vivian led them through a different route than they'd entered. Some emergency exit she'd spotted on the schematics. Behind them, footsteps and shouts. Getting closer. They burst out into an alley behind the warehouse. The boat Vivian had mentioned sat waiting at a nearby dock. Small, fast, engine already running thanks to whatever preparation she'd made. "Get in!" Vivian shouted. Marcus practically threw Damien into the boat. Lena helped Eli aboard, abandoning the wheelchair on the dock. No time to fold it. No time for anything except escape. Vivian gunned the engine. The boat lurched forward, cutting across dark water toward the network of channels and tributaries that veined through Chicago's industrial south side. Gunfire erupted from the dock, guards shooting at their wake, but they were already too far out, moving too fast in the darkness. For a long moment, no one spoke. They just breathed, processing the fact that they'd actually pulled it off, actually rescued Damien from the heart of Dragunov's operation. Then Damien coughed, wet and rattling, and Lena saw fresh blood on his lips. "He's bleeding internally," Marcus said, checking him over with field medic efficiency. "Needs a hospital, real one, now." "Can't risk it," Vivian replied, navigating through narrow channels. "Dragunov has people everywhere. The moment we show up at an ER, we're compromised. Then he dies. Then we improvise." Vivian made a call, speaking rapid fire to someone Lena couldn't see. Coordinates were exchanged, a rendezvous point arranged. They reached a small marina 15 minutes later. A woman waited on the dock, the same doctor who'd treated Lena's gunshot wound days earlier. She took one look at Damien and swore, "Get him inside, now." They carried Damien into a boathouse that had been converted into a makeshift medical facility. The doctor worked with brutal efficiency, cutting away clothes, assessing damage, starting an IV while barking orders at her assistant. Broken ribs, punctured lung, internal bleeding, possible spleen rupture. She looked at Vivian. "This is beyond field medicine. He needs a trauma surgeon." "Do what you can," Vivian said. "We'll deal with the rest." The doctor didn't look happy, but she worked anyway. Lena stood in the corner with Eli, both of them covered in Damien's blood, watching this stranger fight to save a man they'd barely known a week ago but would apparently die for. An hour passed, maybe more. Time felt slippery, unreliable. Finally, the doctor stepped back. "He's stable, for now. But I'm serious about the surgeon. He needs proper care or he won't make it through the night." "Noted," Vivian said. Thank you. The doctor left. Marcus stationed himself outside as a guard. Inside the boathouse, Vivian pulled out her tablet and started typing. What are you doing? Lena asked. Sending the evidence to the FBI, to the DOJ, to every major news outlet in Chicago. Vivian's fingers flew across the keyboard. Walsh and Dragunov. Their entire conspiracy, financial records, communications, everything. Will it work? It'll create enough chaos that they can't simply disappear. And with Damien alive to testify, assuming he survives, we can burn them both to the ground. The tablet chimed. Message sent. Within minutes, Vivian's phone started ringing. She ignored it, let it buzz and ring and vibrate itself into silence. They'll come for us, Eli said quietly. Walsh, Dragunov, everyone we just burned. They'll want revenge. Let them come. Vivian's expression was cold. I'm done running, done hiding. We end this, tonight, one way or another. Lena moved to Damien's side. He was unconscious, breathing through an oxygen mask, face so swollen she could barely see the man she'd met on that street corner. But he was alive. Against every odd, every prediction, he was still breathing. She took his hand, careful of the IV lines, and held it. You saved my life, she said quietly, knowing he couldn't hear but needing to say it anyway. Now I guess we're even. Hours crawled past. Dawn came slowly, painting the sky in shades of gray that matched Lena's exhaustion. Marcus reported activity in the distance, police helicopters, federal vehicles mobilizing, the machinery of law enforcement grinding into motion. Vivian's phone rang again. This time she answered it. This is Cross. A pause, then, yes, I'm aware of the charges. No, I'm not turning myself in, because your boss is a criminal and I have proof. Another pause. Transfer me to Assistant Director Chen, the real one, not Walsh's puppet. The call lasted 10 minutes. Vivian's expression never changed, cold, professional, deadly. When she finally ended it, she looked at Lena. Federal agents are en route, the legitimate kind. Chen's taking personal control of the investigation into Walsh and Dragunov. What about us? Lena asked. Protective custody, until we can testify. Vivian's jaw tightened. It's not ideal, but it's better than dead. Or in prison. Or in prison. Eli wheeled closer to Lena. What happens after we testify? Do we get our lives back? I don't know, Lena admitted. I don't know if those lives even exist anymore. Then we build new ones. Just like that? Just like that. Eli squeezed her hand. We've survived everything else. We can survive normal. Lena wanted to believe him, wanted to think that after the testimony and trials and endless legal proceedings, they could actually walk away and build something resembling a life. But she'd seen too much, lost too much. The girl who delivered food and worried about electric bills felt like a stranger from another lifetime. Damien stirred on the medical cot. His eyes fluttered open, the one that wasn't swollen shut, and found Lena. You came back, he whispered. Of course I did. You're stuck with me now. He coughed, wincing. That's a terrible decision. Yeah, well, I'm full of those lately. A ghost of a smile crossed his damaged face. Lena. Yeah? Thank you for being stupid enough to save me. Thank you for being stupid enough to save me first. They sat in silence for a moment. Outside, the sound of approaching helicopters grew louder. Federal agents would be here soon. Then everything would change again. New safe houses, new interrogations, new battles fought in courtrooms instead of warehouses. But right now, in this quiet moment before the storm hit again, Lena let herself just breathe. The FBI arrived in force. Armored vehicles, tactical teams. Assistant Director Chen herself leading the operation. She was a small woman with iron in her eyes and the kind of presence that commanded respect without demanding it. Ms. Cross, Ms. Vale. Chen nodded to each of them. You've had quite a week. That's one way to put it, Vivian replied. I've reviewed the evidence you sent. It's compelling, damning even. Chen glanced at Damien. But I'll need his testimony to make charges stick. How soon can he travel? He needs surgery, the doctor interjected. Real surgery, in a real hospital. Then we'll arrange it, under guard, protected. Chen turned back to Vivian. In the meantime, I need statements from all of you. Everything that happened, every detail you can remember. What about Dragunov? Lena asked. Is he in custody as of 20 minutes ago? Picked up at a private airfield trying to flee the country. Chen's expression was satisfied. He'll be charged with conspiracy, murder for hire, corruption of federal officials, and about 30 other counts. He's not walking away from this. And Walsh? Also in custody. Suspended pending investigation. Her career is over. Chen pulled out a tablet. But convicting them requires your cooperation. All of you. Are you willing? Lena looked at Eli, at Marcus and Vivian, at Damien lying battered but alive on the medical cot. Yes, she said. We'll testify. The next 3 months became a blur of depositions, grand jury testimonies, and endless security protocols. Damien underwent surgery to repair his damaged lung and broken ribs, spent 2 weeks in a guarded hospital room, then another month in physical therapy, learning to move without pain shooting through his chest. Lena and Eli were placed in protective custody at a federal facility that was nicer than any apartment they'd ever lived in but still felt like a cage. They gave statements, reviewed evidence, prepared for trials that would probably last years. Bishop, it turned out, had already cut a deal. Full cooperation in exchange for a reduced sentence. He provided details about his arrangement with Dragunov, confirmed Grayer's involvement, and verified the conspiracy between Walsh and the Russian crime network. Grayer himself was found dead in his jail cell 3 weeks into custody. Official ruling was suicide. Lena didn't believe it for a second. But with Dragunov in maximum security and Walsh facing a list of charges that could put her away for life, the conspiracy was crumbling. Slowly. Messily. But crumbling. 4 months after that night at the warehouse, Lena sat in a federal courthouse waiting to testify. She wore a suit that someone else had bought, sat in a witness room with armed guards outside, and tried not to think about how surreal this all was. Damien found her there. He moved stiffly still, one hand unconsciously pressing against his ribs where they'd been broken, but he was healing, getting stronger. The burns on his face had faded to pale scars that somehow made him look more human, less like the untouchable criminal kingpin and more like someone who'd survived hell and lived to tell about it. "Hey," he said, sitting beside her. "Hey yourself. Shouldn't you be preparing for your testimony?" "Probably, but I wanted to see you first." Damien looked at his hands. "After today, after all the testimony is done, what happens?" "I don't know. Witness protection, maybe. New names, new city, new everything. Is that what you want?" Lena thought about it, really thought about it. "A month ago I would have said yes, absolutely. Give me a normal life and let me forget this nightmare ever happened. And now? Now I don't know if normal exists anymore, or if I even want it." She met his eyes. "What about you? What happens to Damien Voss after the trials?" "Damien Voss probably goes to prison." He said it matter-of-factly, without self-pity. "I built an empire on blood and fear, broke laws, hurt people. The fact that I also took down worse criminals doesn't erase what I did. You saved my life, Eli's life. Doesn't balance the scales. Maybe not, but it counts for something." They sat in silence for a moment. Outside, lawyers discussed strategy in hushed tones. Guards changed shifts. The machinery of justice ground forward with mechanical inevitability. "I need to tell you something," Damien said finally. "After this is over, after the trials and sentencing and everything, I'm walking away. From the criminal world, from the empire, from all of it. You can't just walk away from that life. Watch me." Damien's voice was quiet but certain. "I spent 20 years building power because I was terrified of being powerless again. But power didn't save me from Dragunov. Didn't protect the people I cared about. It just painted targets on everyone's backs. So what will you do?" "I don't know. Something legitimate. Something that doesn't require looking over my shoulder constantly." He looked at her. "Maybe something that lets me sleep at night without seeing the people I've killed." "That sounds nice. Boring, but nice." "Yeah." Damien smiled, the first real smile she'd seen from him. "It really does." A bailiff appeared in the doorway. "Ms. Vale, they're ready for you." Lena stood, smoothed her suit, took a deep breath. "You'll do fine," Damien said. "Just tell the truth." "The truth is messy." All truth is messy. Tell it anyway. Lena walked into the courtroom and took her seat in the witness stand. She raised her right hand, swore to tell the truth, and then spent the next 4 hours doing exactly that. She described the shooting, the rescue, the warehouse attacks, Dragunov's threats, Walsh's involvement, every detail she could remember, laid out in clinical precision for the jury. When it was over, she felt hollowed out, exhausted, but also lighter, like she'd been carrying weight she hadn't noticed until it was finally gone. Damien testified the next day, then Vivian, then Marcus, then Bishop, speaking from a secure video link, his expression unreadable as he described exactly how the conspiracy had operated. The trial lasted 6 weeks. Dragunov's lawyers fought viciously, but the evidence was overwhelming. Financial records, communications, witness testimony from multiple sources. The conspiracy was laid bare in excruciating detail. The jury deliberated for 3 days, guilty on all counts. Walsh's trial took longer. Federal employees got more procedural protections. But the outcome was the same, guilty. Stripped of her position, sentenced to 25 years in federal prison. Lena watched the verdict from the gallery and felt nothing, no satisfaction, no relief, just exhaustion and the vague sense that maybe, finally, this chapter was closing. Damien's sentencing came last. He stood before the judge, back straight, face calm, and accepted responsibility for his crimes. Didn't make excuses. Didn't minimize what he'd done. Just acknowledged the truth and accepted the consequences. The judge sentenced him to 7 years. With credit for time served and good behavior, he'd be eligible for parole in 4. It could have been worse. Should have been worse, probably. But the prosecutor acknowledged Damien's cooperation in bringing down a major criminal conspiracy. That counted for something. As guards led him away, Damien looked back at Lena one last time, mouthed 2 words. "Thank you." Then he was gone. 18 months later, Lena stood outside a small apartment in a city she'd never visited before the federal government relocated her there. The Witness Protection Program had given her a new name, Sarah Mitchell, and a new identity complete with work history and references. Eli had a new name too. New medical records. New physical therapy program. They were rebuilding, slowly, painfully. But rebuilding. Lena worked at a nonprofit now, helping other survivors of violence navigate the legal system, find resources, rebuild their lives. It wasn't glamorous. Didn't pay well. But it felt like purpose, like taking the nightmare she'd survived and turning it into something that might help someone else. Eli was in community college, studying computer science, thriving in ways he hadn't been able to when they were scrambling for rent money and medical bills. He'd even started dating someone, a shy engineering major who made him laugh. Life was good, normal, boring in the best possible way. Lena's phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Paranoia from the old life still lingered sometimes. But something made her pick up. "Hello? Is this Sarah Mitchell?" A woman's voice. Professional. Unfamiliar. "Yes. Who's this?" "My name is Claire Romano. I'm a parole officer with the Illinois Department of Corrections. I'm calling regarding Damien Voss." Lena's heart stopped. "Is he—" "He's fine. Better than fine, actually. Early release for good behavior and cooperation with ongoing investigations." A pause. "He asked me to contact you. Said you'd want to know he was out." Did he say anything else?" "Just that he's starting over. Clean. Legitimate. And that if you ever wanted to talk, I could pass along contact information." Lena stood on her apartment balcony, looking out at a city that still felt foreign, processing this information. Damien was free. Really free. Not just physically, but from the empire and the violence and everything that had defined him. "Miss Mitchell, are you still there?" "Yeah, sorry, I'm here." Lena took a deep breath. Tell him I'm glad he made it out and that I hope he finds whatever he's looking for." "Do you want his number, in case you ever want to reach out?" Lena thought about it, really thought about it. Part of her wanted to say yes, wanted to call him, hear his voice, find out if the man who'd saved her life had actually managed to save his own. But another part, the part that had learned to let go, to move forward, to build something new instead of clinging to the past, knew that some chapters needed to end completely. "No," she said finally. "But thank you for calling, for letting me know he's okay." I'll pass that along. Take care, Ms. Mitchell. The call ended. Lena stood on the balcony for a long time, watching traffic move through streets below, listening to the ordinary sounds of a city at peace. No gunfire, no sirens, no assassins lurking in shadows. Just life. Normal, messy, beautiful life. Eli called from inside the apartment. "Lena, dinner's ready." She smiled and went inside. 6 months after that, Lena received a letter. No return address. Postmarked from somewhere in Montana. Inside a single page written in handwriting she recognized. "Lena, I don't know if this will reach you. Don't know if you'll even want to read it if it does. But I needed to try. I'm out. Really out. Working construction in a town so small it doesn't have a stoplight. Living in a cabin I'm fixing up with my own hands. It's quiet. Simple. Everything I never knew I needed. I think about that night a lot. The warehouse. The choice you made to come back for me when every logical instinct said to run. I spent my whole life believing power was the only thing that mattered. That strength meant never needing anyone. You proved me wrong. Showed me that the strongest thing anyone can do is choose to care even when it costs everything. I don't expect anything from you. Don't even know what I'd ask for if I could. Just wanted you to know that I made it. That the man who saved your life on that street corner isn't the man I am anymore. I'm someone better now. Because you showed me better was possible. Thank you. For everything. For being brave when I was just brutal. For seeing something in me worth saving. I hope you found peace. You deserve it more than anyone I've ever met. D. Lena read the letter 3 times, then folded it carefully and put it in a drawer with other things she couldn't quite throw away, but didn't need to keep visible. She didn't write back. Didn't need to. Some connections transcend words or distance or time. They exist in the spaces between heartbeats, the moment a stranger chose to save a life, the moment someone bleeding chose to stand up and fight anyway, the moment 2 people looked at each other across chaos and recognized something human. That night, Lena stood on Navy Pier for the first time since the federal government had relocated her. The winter wind rolled off Lake Michigan exactly like it had that terrible night when everything changed. But she wasn't running anymore. Wasn't hiding. She was just standing there, breathing, alive. Eli appeared beside her in his wheelchair, wrapped in a heavy coat. "You okay?" "Yeah," Lena smiled. "I really am." "Thinking about him?" "A little. You could reach out. I'm sure the parole officer would." "No." Lena shook her head. "Some stories end so new ones can begin. That's how it's supposed to work." "You really believe that?" "I'm trying to." They stood together, brother and sister, watching the skyline glow against the dark water. Behind them, the city hummed with endless motion, millions of people living their own stories, fighting their own battles, choosing courage or fear or something in between. Somewhere in Montana, a man was rebuilding himself from scratch, learning that redemption wasn't about erasing the past, but about building a future that honored what was lost. Somewhere in witness protection, a woman was discovering that survival wasn't the end goal, it was just the beginning. And between them, across distance and time and all the chaos that had brought them together, then forced them apart, existed something that couldn't be named or measured but was somehow real. Not love. Not exactly. Something more complicated and honest. Recognition. 2 people who'd seen the worst in each other and themselves, who'd made impossible choices under impossible circumstances, and who'd somehow emerged on the other side still capable of being human. That was worth something. That was worth everything. Lena turned away from the pier and started walking. Eli rolled beside her, both of them heading toward a future they couldn't predict but were finally ready to face. Behind them, the city continued its eternal rhythm, building and breaking, rising and falling, destroying and creating in endless cycles that gave a damn about no one. But for 2 people who'd survived its darkest corners and emerged into daylight, Chicago felt different now. Not safe. Never safe. But possible. And possible was enough. 3 years later, on a cold November morning, Lena opened her nonprofit's office to find a package waiting outside the door. No return address, just her name. Her real name, not the witness protection alias, written in handwriting she still recognized. Inside, a cashier's check, more money than she'd make in 5 years, and a note. For the people you help, The ones rebuilding from nothing. Tell them it's possible. Tell them someone who was broken once built something better. Tell them they can too. Always, Delana held the check with shaking hands. Then she walked inside, called her board of directors, and explained that they'd just received an anonymous donation large enough to expand operations into 3 new cities. "Who's it from?" the board president asked. "Someone who knows what it costs to survive," Lena replied, "and what it's worth to help others do the same." She deposited the check that afternoon, used the money to hire more staff, open more offices, help more people claw their way back from violence and trauma and loss. And every person they helped, every survivor who walked through those doors and walked out stronger, carried a piece of the story forward. Proof that the worst moments don't have to define us. That choices made in darkness can still lead to light. That even when the world tears everything away, something essential remains. Hope. Resilience. The stubborn human refusal to stay broken. Lena never saw Damien again, never called or wrote or tried to find him. Their paths had crossed when both needed saving, had tangled together long enough to survive, then diverged toward different futures. That was enough. More than enough. It was everything. Years later, when Eli got married to that shy engineering major who'd made him laugh, Lena stood at the reception watching her brother dance, healthy and happy and whole. And for just a moment, she thought about the delivery girl who'd stood on a frozen corner 4 years earlier, waiting for an order that never came. That girl was gone. Had died the moment a bullet tore through her side and a stranger decided she was worth saving. But someone better had emerged from the ashes. Someone who understood that strength wasn't about never falling. It was about choosing to stand back up. About saving others even when you could barely save yourself. About being brave enough to believe that tomorrow could be different from yesterday. That belief, that choice, made everything else possible. And as snow began to fall outside the reception hall, dusting Chicago in white that would dirty and melt by morning, Lena smiled. Not because the story had a happy ending, but because it had an ending at all. And that was the most anyone could ask for in a world that rarely granted mercy. Survival, growth, the chance to wake up tomorrow and try again. That was the real victory. Everything else was just noise.